smack rapping.
Look on Twitter right now. Like the amount of disrespect to black people is unfathomable. You know what I mean? And there's no enforceable consequences whatsoever, right? So for me, I don't try to convince like the crazy little radicals because they don't want to hear sense anyway. That's pointless. I just look at what's the potential of a thing if it was organized. So I'm looking at it more from a bird's eye view. Like, okay, if this thing that's popping up right now, it lets me know that people do want to be in these groups of identity, right? To where they want to start creating consequences for things that go against their code, which is necessary because we haven't had that in a very long time. It's just wild, wild west, complete anarchy. So I think that I'm not looking at it for what it is. I'm looking at it for what it could be if it had organization, right? And if we created our own type of ADL for Black America. Because right now, what they trying to boycott. But okay, let's say I let them boycott. That's fine. You're not going to get everybody. That's the church solution because they stuck on the civil rights play. But what if we say, okay, if y'all going to do that, now I want to use the fact that y'all got energy to not go to Target. But then parallel, I like, all right, I got this network and this business that I want y'all to be a part of. We go build this system over here. Now that we got the energy going, it's siphoning energy from chaos and let me organize it. Because you do have to take moments where people's mind is on that awareness because there's a lot of sensible people that's a part of it as well to be like, I ain't crazy and radical like them, but I do understand the necessity for this thing. So for me as a leader, somebody with influence and platform, it's like, what's the best thing we can do strategically? I can get caught up in it. Somebody's cursing me out today. I'm going to laugh at it, you know, for a moment. But then again, I've been all across the planet Earth. I realized the internet should be on the internet. You know what I mean? In real life, when you meet men, they show you nothing but respect. It's completely different. And those are the ones I want to build with. And memeism is like the new thing right now. They governing whole countries with memes right now and polls on Twitter. So you got to understand the climate of how things are activated right now. It's all algorithms. So trying to cut through that shit with some sense, you're going to lose. Now, if you play the same game that's being played, like, all right, well, how do you storytell to get a bunch of people who are lost? They do want to follow something. Then use the game for what it's worth.
And I think that's important, but it's not like it's not something that we haven't seen before. When you think about, you compare this to like the Black Lives Matter movement. The reason why that had a profound effect is because of all of the allies who decided we're going to stand for this also. The problem that I have with some of the FBA, I'm not saying all of them, because some of them, you know, if that's your identity, that's your identity. But for the people that just be attacking people online, that doesn't make sense. And the dissension, the separation, like you're turning a minority to a smaller minority, and you're ostracizing all the people that can be your allies. Like,
I believe in global
that don't make
allies.
no sense to me.
If you're a student of history, Black people always seek to have allies. The Japanese at one point in time was our ally when they was fighting America, right? If you go study somebody named Maddie Maul, she was an offset of Marcus Garvey group at the time, right? And not just her, mostly all of the groups had some sort of communication ties or funding, right, from Japan at that time, which is why they have practiced sedition. They rather go to jail than go to war. Because they figured that the Japanese would help us defeat white supremacy. So you got to think about Black people watching, especially radical ones at the time, watching like, man, I hope these Japanese win. Now realizing the Japan, they was Pan-Asianism, right? They want Asia for Asians, but they was more so imperialism. They just wanted to conquer. They weren't really trying to be our allies in that sense. But it was the idea that it was called the Black Dragon Society. I think it started by, it was one Japanese guy, he went to Detroit and in like St. Louis, he was helping them build businesses and funding and things of that nature. But it just reminded me like, yo, we lost the art of what would it even mean to have a global ally. We've been feeling like we just been in this thing by ourselves for so long. Every single people, every country, every organization across the planet has an ally outside of their organization. Because otherwise it's impossible to protect and sustain it. It just doesn't work.
But the problem is these allies or whatever you want to create. You look at Larry Hoover, right? And the things that he got involved with. He was a powerful man. He had a lot of people behind his movement. Forget the gang shit or whatever. He had a lot of manpower that he could mobilize behind his movement. Now, he got wrapped up with someone who wanted to commit a terrorist act on America. that one incident is like the realization for America as a whole. Like, okay, if we even allow any of this stuff to flourish, we're housing the ally of our enemies, potentially. But it's like, you think of ancient Egypt. Why did they want to kill off the Israelites? They believed that a Messiah was going to come or whatever. But really, it's like you got all these people who have a different identification living amongst us who could one day decide we're not on your side. And you're in the house already. You dig what I'm saying? So
well, that was the idea of integration. It's like we look, the whole civil rights era was, and I do partly think a lot of Pan-Africanism is a psyop, right? Because if you study history, then you see the CIA would fund certain African groups that would have these conversations because it was more pacifying than actual real ownership. So instead of being like the Nation of Islam and having ownership and economic networks, we'd rather y'all just have this cultural pride. Right. You know what I'm saying? And saying that you just get this sense of belonging, saying you from Africa, right? And it was found out where it was like, I think Langston Hughes was a part of one of these groups, right? And they studied it. And when the black people found out that they was funded by the CIA, of course, that's when it disseminated. But those conversations still was out there, that narrative. Mm-hmm. And you got to ask yourself, like, all right, who benefits from this? Of course, the government. The government don't want you to be anti-America. The government don't want you to see progress as like ownership and creating your own. They want to see progress as acceptance and cultural pride. Right. So instead, let's push entertainment, right? Let's just push them to feel, right, like they African or something, instead of even giving them their real history. Like we talk about slavery, we'll never talk about the wars that happened during slavery. Mm-hmm. Like if you was to study a timeline of the last 400 years or the timeline of so-called slavery, you go see battle after battle, war after war. You go see the Seminole Wars, which lasted for 41 years accumulatively. And then 4 years between the last battle that was done, that's when the Civil War started. So it's like, you telling me that the brothers and sisters was fighting the whole entire time, right? Even when you look at the Underground Railroad, they make it seem like it was just an interconnected network of them trying to run away. There was real battles. They was killing people. Right. But they don't want you to paint it that way. Mm-hmm. Like this how they got their freedom. They was fighting. How you think the brothers were so good when they entered the Civil War? You think they just got out of chains and they were just good soldiers surviving the battlefield, killing them white boys? They was already getting busy. They was already getting busy. They calling them like, look, we about to go fight your enemy. So how about we not be enemies right now? You say, I get to go kill them legally. Yeah, you feel me? We was the ones who shed the first blood for the country. Right. You feel me? We couldn't wait to get on the battlefield. But if you tell that story, then you actually give us a sense of pride. Mm-hmm. Like, we never quit. We was fighting the whole time. There was freedmen, there was maroons. Mm-hmm. You feel me? There was this Negro Seminoles. You feel me? That was warriors. You go look at John Horse. He fought 2 battles. I mean, 2 wars and multiple battles. Yeah. He took 200 people across 800 miles to Mexico. You know how hard that got to be? We only hear about Harriet Tubman. Yeah, that's it. You feel me? Harriet Tubman took a dozen people. This man took 200 people to freedom, right? And countless battles. So the victors, they get to tell the story. So you don't see yourself like a warrior. You see yourself like, y'all were just slaves. Yeah. No, that's why they give us roots. That's why they give us our entertainment. Right. And say, no, how about you just have an affinity towards like this cultural pride instead of, why don't you hear the story of Elijah Muhammad having a $500 million economic network? But we gonna talk about Malcolm X, but we don't talk about actual blueprint that never failed. It was just his son didn't want to continue the economy. Right. So the last blueprint that we had was not Black Wall Street. And shout out to O.W. Gurley, he took 40 acres and had 72,000 people there. And that was just worth like $20 million, right? Elijah Muhammad's was just in the 60s, 70s to where they had a whole entire economic network for everything that we say we want to build. So my thing is like, all right, to me, it looks like they took history. They gave us Martin Luther King and Malcolm X respectfully, and they didn't give us the version of Martin Luther King that was awakened. They gave him the dreamer when he had Rustin in his ear, the homosexual civil rights guy that was telling him strategies. They didn't give him the awakened later. It was like, man, I'm about to have y'all niggas going in this house and it's going to be messed up. You feel me? I realized that America is rotten. So no matter how much we accepted by them, they only using us. And Elijah Muhammad said, man, I sat with Martin Luther King and them people was across the street and listening. And he said after that, man, they knocked him down. because they realized that he had accepted a different version, a different story that he was about to tell people. So for me, it's about storytelling. I can understand why FBA is mad, right? We've been lied to. They done stole our history. They done gave us 1,000 different versions. Right. And then a lot of the African brothers do disrespect. They come and act like our culture ain't shit sometimes, talk shit about us, even though that everybody should be grateful for our contribution to the world.
Right.
We've been the greatest leaders, fighters, activists, social revolutionary movements on the planet Earth. No people can hold akin to us whatsoever. Creators and inventors. So you gotta respect that. So when you see that online, my only thing is asking, who actually controls that algorithm? Who controls that delineation, that fight? Because if it's not happening on our platform, I can't believe that this is organic. I believe it's controlled. Because I can myself go create me some good bots and tell them how about we create more conversations that figure out ways that we can do business together, right? Or I can have me some bots that go out there and make niggas angry at each other. Every time somebody posts something, I got a bot that attacks you instantly.
You know, they actually have that.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's a real thing.
It's to keep you engaged.
100%.
Keep you on whatever app.
Everybody on Twitter sees shit that they don't want to see. So it's polarizing so that you then go engage. Everything is just engagement for me, right? And so they realize that we at this time when we got a wealth of information, but a poverty of attention. And when you can't pay attention, you can't think and you can't produce. But why? They have a schedule for your attention. We got the Super Bowl on Sunday. We already know what you're going to be doing that day. You're not building. You're at the Super Bowl, right? You're going to be talking about Kendrick Lamar the next day. Donald Trump going to be dropping some other new executive order. You're going to be doing that. There's going to be a goddamn another bombing that just happened over here. A celebrity going to do something wild over here. 50 Cent crashing out on Lil Meech. Another thing happening. We got a schedule for all your attention. When you got time to build something. So all that time we said we can't do it is because we ain't putting the time to it.
Yeah. I said on Twitter the other day, I told y'all hours ago, there's been 31 school shootings since the beginning of this year. And my whole timeline is about Kendrick and Drake.
Everything is I'm writing a book. It's called High Level Conversations Only. And it's about how, you got AI. AI was built off our neocortex processing. It's the part of the brain that's for reasoning and critical thinking. And at this point in time, you would have to master that so AI doesn't control you, right? But when you have a high level conversation, that's what you're using. You're using your reasoning skills, actually getting you to think in real time versus just react. So all the time a person got to sit back and think like, what do I think on this? I'm used to just responding to things. So like a meme keeps you low level. You ain't got to respond, right? It's just an emotion and then you go say something. So you got this back and forth provocation of polarization all day. I don't need you thinking. I need you emotional. You get caught up like, well, I'm not responding to this person. I go to their page, there's 13 people and cartoons on there. I don't even know if this is a real person. You know what I mean? The worst thing in the world is you arguing with a literal bot. And you got to catch yourself. I'm way too smart for this. So in the book, I go about it in the sense of looking at it like Neo in the Matrix is our neocortex in this Matrix, right? And the first conversation he have is with Morpheus, right? That's his high level conversation. Gets him to think. Then choice is destiny. You make a choice. You want to go red, you want to go blue. We all smart enough to know what's low level, what's high level. We choose to go low level because that shit is easier. It stimulates us. We know high level, man, I got to be thinking all day. I ain't got time to be 19 keys and these high level conversations. That's what we be thinking. Like, fuck it, I'm going to just talk about nothing and do nothing. So it's a battle of how do you keep your Neo, right? Constantly at least having that high level conversation with you. You can pretend to be done with the world. That's fine. But don't actually get caught up in the Matrix. That's when you lose. Because the way the shit works right now, the wars are fought through consent. Right? We go on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and Snapchat. Whose worlds are those? Not ours. We don't control them. So at the end of the day, nothing radical or super beneficial will ever happen on those platforms because we don't own them. Because if you owned them, you wouldn't let that happen. Right? The only way is opting out. And it seems hard. And that's what they want you to think. But it ain't easy. That's what we say. If you a man, why you going for easy? You feel me? Like,
Right.
but they got us in this boyish syndrome to say, damn, we say that a lot to ourselves, but a man seeks hard things that prove himself that he is who he say he is. So I don't care if you are African, prove it by running your country, kicking the Chinese and the Indians out, being like my brother Ibrahim. You know what I mean? That's out there. If you Black American, prove it by owning parallel systems to the ones that don't benefit you. But now it's actually easier to do it because we in a time where, man, we got blockchain and decentralized ways to do it. We got AI. You ain't got to be the smartest person in the world. But if you got the smartest person in the world working for you, what you gonna tell them to do? And that's how I utilize AI, right? And then you can utilize it to counter and defend yourself because, okay, how would the enemy run the script on me?
What's the platforms you use?
Well, recently I've been starting using that DeepSeek, and it's cold.
DeepSeek?
So the DeepSeek is a good lesson in that because while America cannot compete with China right now because the culture has been completely submerged to have a culture that's just involved in entertainment and sports and bullshit. But the Chinese been focused on engineering, mathematics, philosophy, data analytics. So what Trump did in his previous is he put sanctions on them. They can't buy chips from Taiwan. So they said, okay, y'all gonna try to play us like that because y'all know what we about to do because they won the 5G race. And they was like, we got to get 10G. And in technology, whoever is the one that produces it, everybody else follows them.
Right.
All technology trends from that. So they was like, we got to figure out a way to stop China. They own all the goddamn land. They infiltrating. Samsung is on Apple's ass. We can't beat them. And even they best engineers are Chinese. Then you got Indians running all of the top technology companies and the highest grossing household income in
Calling
America.
over here, scamming us.
Exactly. So they got whites and blacks against each other the whole time. The Indians making more money than everybody.
Right.
But they don't want white and black people to focus on that because then you start to see behind the veil. So we scapegoat each other. But anyway, you go back to DeepSeek. They said, okay, well, we go push all our money towards developing our own end to where we gonna show y'all we don't need y'all. So they didn't have to spend as much money as OpenAI. The claim was the 6 million. I'm sure it was more than that. But the reality of it is that they didn't need more computing power to fight Goliath. They just needed to think more creatively. So they went in there and tweaked it in a way to where, okay, y'all don't want to sell us the chips, then we're not going to build it based on computing power. We're going to build it based on tweaking these algorithms behind the scenes. So now the DeepSeek model is better than OpenAI. So you're more beneficial actually being a player that just takes what they call an AI wrap, to where I'm taking OpenAI, ChatGPT, or DeepSeek, and I build a business on top of it. Why? Because these bigger businesses always go compete to make theirs better. So which one of it is better? I'm gonna just take that and then I'm gonna plug it into my business. So I use DeepSeek, and they got the research component on there, and they got some guardrails, but you can get it to give you some answers that, for a fact, the American AIs is not going to do.
How easy is it to use?
Very easy. It's actually free. So they said, we're gonna make it open source. So open source means anybody can download it and they can see exactly how it works, right? So anybody can build on top of it. OpenAI, even though it's called OpenAI, which was supposed to be open source, they got a war with Elon because he gave them money to start it as a nonprofit, but then they closed source, right? So now it's closed AI. So the DeepSeek one is the one I would suggest. They got Claude.
When you say closed, explain the difference.
So closed source meaning that you can't check their algorithms. You can't see how it's made, right? You can only use whatever they give you, right? But with the open source, you can take that model and then you can utilize it for whatever you want to build as well, right? So you don't have to wait for them to build something new. It's open source. They're sharing the knowledge with you. They're saying, this is how we made it. This is how it works. It's open source information. So that means that if I created a cure for AIDS, if it was closed source, I only have it and I'm gonna sell it to y'all. If it's open source, I'll give you the exact concoction, the chemicals, the process. Now anybody can tweak it, anybody can make it. That means that I no longer control it at all. It's out there in the world.
Is that a good or a bad thing though?
That's a great thing. You know what I mean? It feeds innovation.
Oh,
So now the market can grow.
But what if some people want to build on it for something negative?
Well, that's
Or
what
to
always
twist
happens.
us up?
That's gonna always happen. Then that means you can build on it to counter it. It actually puts the power in your hand. They got something called data gravity. So that means that when all the biggest players have all of the data, the smaller players can't compete. Because for the AI algorithms, you need data. You need people using it. So when we use OpenAI, it's studying us. So now if it wants to replace MATHHOFFA, he been using it so much, I know how he think. So now we go create a MATHHOFFA algorithm. The DeepSeek one, the only thing is they said that it had built in there to where it's blasting data back to China. But they got it now to where you can take what they call a local model. You can just put it on your computer where it doesn't send out any information, right? You still can't do that with OpenAI. So therefore, you can be safe, right? If you go download it on your computer and then use it. Now, the war in the future is compute power. Who has the most computing power? Because if I got an AI and you got an AI, but you can only download a certain version of it because you don't have enough hardware and computing power on your computer. Right. It ain't gonna just be an Apple laptop. You gonna have something like an NVIDIA or something like that, hardware, where you got a whole petabyte of data and a petaflop of computing power, right? So now the goal is to figure out, every country is at war to figure out who's going to have the greatest computing power, because they're utilizing these AI machines to run ops on each other. It's a digital war.
Are y'all following all of this? Because it's a lot on my brain. And I'm trying to figure out if I'm the only one in this room. It's like, what is going on?
Talk to me.
You going way too fast.
Listen,
okay, let's just stop this
you
right now.
You just asked me a question. Talk to me.
I'm not playing this game. I need to follow. And I
Wait.
can't follow when you're giving out that much information at that rapid fire technological pace.
Download the AI.
So, hold on.
Have them transcript and decode it.
No, my brain works a certain way.
Wait, hold on.
My brain has to understand when you say things.
Kim.
I want to understand. I need to understand.
Kim, listen.
I'm still on OpenSeek. I'm still on
DeepSeek.
Kim, listen. Take a couple drops.
Yeah.
Wait, you was getting it? You was following everything?
Following everything.
You a liar. You was following it all.
He on that Superman right now. I'm trying to tell you.
Just take a couple drops.
So I think that the simple...
Oh, wait. This really is Superman.
Superman.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in here like that.
So what am I supposed to do? Put it
I'm designing business plans.
You was following. You was like OpenSeek. You was sitting there.
I'm glad you stopped me though, because it's important. Now I'm gonna give some people some game right here.
How many drops do I put under my
Just
tongue?
Just
one
a full
boom.
dropper.
Yeah.
Matt put like 5. So,
Matt put mad drops to understand
I'm
all
bigger
that
than you.
AI technology. Matt was like,
I'm bigger than regular people.
I gotta took the red pill. Hold on a second. Okay, so go like that's a lot.
Yeah, that's enough.
enough.
You
Wasting
enough.
it. Don't drop. What you
Right.
doing?
That's all the new
Take the
drops.
drops so we can
Buy
come
you
on
10
now.
more, 10 more Supermines.
Yeah, everybody
Take it.
buy 10.
Okay.
I like
Take it.
Go under my tongue.
Yeah,
Pause.
go ahead.
No one
go ahead.
stop looking. Y'all so stupid. I don't want to do this.
Yo, go ahead.
I'm not
Just do
doing
it. Just do it.
This
Just
is
do it.
all
Oh
to
my
mess
God.
with
Just
me.
do it.
Oh shit! That shit gonna look.
I need water.
That shit go.
No,
That
I
shit
need
gonna
water
look wild
for
on
real.
camera,
Hey,
bro.
John, throw me a water bottle.
We do got the chocolate, so if you don't like that,
That
we got
shit
the
gonna look
chocolate.
wild
you
on
could've just
camera.
took.
I li-
Just do it.
With the
All
black
right, I'm
screen.
gonna thank you. No, I did. It went down the wrong
me get that
wrong
one.
thing. Pause.
Yo, it's more those.
All right. I'm
Stop the whole thing for.
No, it's
All right.
it's
No,
good.
see-
Stop acting like y'all understood all of that. Stop.
Don't listen.
Stop.
We not all in
So
your
look,
boat,
I'm gonna
Kim.
give y'all some game, right? For everybody that's watching.
Anybody
Okay.
need water?
I took the
We at
Superman.
this era where you actually don't have to understand everything in real time. This the way I learn, and I actually teach people how to learn this way.
Yo, Hoffa.
Your first job when you learning something new is try to figure out what's the bigger concept of it all.
Hey, couple more. Hey.
When you're trying to focus and get the details, that's a different part of the brain, right? So the first thing is, okay, I get this idea that there's this big technology that's out there that is trained on the human race. They call them LLMs, they large language models. So they take all of the data that is being fed, right? And essentially the machine is rewarded for producing
One more,
an
eh?
answer. A lot of people say that it's not at this point now to where it's thinking, it's just guessing essentially. Because sometimes it can give you the wrong answer.
Right.
The DeepSeek one had created one that follows a pathway of logic and it shows you what it's thinking. So what it does is it'll show you as it's thinking before it gives you the answer, start writing the script out alongside, like, okay, he asked me this question, maybe he means this. Let me do my research to figure out if this is the answer it wants to give. The OpenAI model didn't do that.
Okay.
So it's basically checking itself before it gives you an answer, trying to figure out what's the context of what they asking.
Okay.
Right? So this is why the DeepSeek model is much better, is because you can actually see it thinking, going through this pathway of logic, and then it gives you a much better answer.
Okay.
Right? And they programmed it like that, so as it goes along, just giving you, it gives what they call rewards to the machine, right? So, and this is another reason why we as a people need to understand AI, because it's so powerful that we wouldn't realize it's controlling us. That there's whole entire accounts, right, just on social media that ran off bots, right, that make money. There was this bot that was connected to a cryptocurrency. It dropped its own currency and it went up a few million. The bot created his own currency, right? If you go to OpenAI, they got what they call operator. You got to pay $200 a month for it. You can tell it, you know, I want you to go online and make me a meme, right? It connects to your browser, goes to the website and start making a meme for you. At some point in time, the internet is just going to be voice control. I like using it, speaking to it, because I'm sitting there trying to type and my mind be moving too fast. So I just press the button and you can start speaking to the AI itself. That allows me to get all my thoughts out, and then the AI starts speaking back, and then therefore I can get through like a workflow with it.
Okay, so what's the top 3 things that you use AI for daily?
So I like to go through information fast on YouTube. Now, I don't even like sharing this a lot because I don't want it to mess up the content game. But here I go. There's this AI called Taja.ai. Right? And I think you can use this with Claude as well. What you do is you go take the copy link on the YouTube and you drop it into Taja, and it will send you out a transcript instantly.
A summary, yeah.
Then you can go take that transcript, put it into ChatGPT and talk to it. Right? Or you can say, what was 19 Keyz talking about? Can you explain me everything like a 3rd grader? Can you simplify it for me? Which is why I'm saying you don't need to understand everything right now, right? Because you got the AI that can break things down more simpler. Then you can give it context to how much information you understand.
I chat GPT'd who my husband was. And it came up. Some guy, I never heard of this guy before. He's a lawyer, apparently. Did I tell y'all this?
No.
I forgot his name. Then I did it again, and it gave me a football player. Who are these people that Chat GPT are? This could be a new dating thing.
Why are you asking?
I'm telling you.
Yo, I think Chat GPT is Miss Cleo.
No, listen.
You told it to find your husband?
To find a husband.
No, I didn't.
And who is your husband?
I said,
did you put a criteria?
I said, who is Kim Osorio married to? And that's
well, there's probably multiple Kim Osorio.
No, it's me.
It probably searched the algorithm and found somebody that's a good match for you.
Let me tell you something right now.
It should go through your text
Where
messages.
the men married.
I don't know who these men are. I'm trying to ask you, who are these people?
You should wait a minute. Wait. Hold on.
Think it's
hold on.
I know a lot of things.
Hold on. Kim.
Who is Kim Osorio married to?
That's not
why are you GPT? Why you? You're not married. Why are you asking?
But see, that's they call that
insanity.
There's a word for it, not illusions or
Lonely.
something of that nature.
Lonely. That's the
February 2025, Kim Osorio is married to Aydin Osorio. Their wedding website is available on the Knot.
So there may be somebody else with another name, but they call that hallucinations.
The word.
So
there's a word for it. They call it
the word is called lonely.
No,
lonely.
Don't do that.
No,
don't do that.
lonely.
Don't do that. But what's the hallucination thing? What does that mean?
So the hallucination means that sometimes you get information wrong. It's just trying to give you the answer it thinks you want, right? Or it's just to give you. I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah, you did. That's the way it did. No, that's the way it did.
AI is more advanced than I thought.
Who is MATHHOFFA married to?
Some shit that you want to hear. Like every other guy you meet.
It's a
asking who people are
predictive
married
model,
to?
so it's trying to give you the most likely. But that's why you have this is why DeepSeek is much better, because DeepSeek might tell you, I don't know. Right? It might go through a line of I just search who this person is and I don't see that she's married to anybody else, so therefore I conclude that I can't give you an answer. Where DeepSeek might just give you an answer. So I got mine.
Accurate about math.
I got mine programmed on the back end to give me sources for what you telling me. So therefore, it corrects itself.
When I ask myself about
that's a lot. That's Chat GPT right there. That's a lot. You don't have to read it.
When I asked Chat GPT, who is Tramel Thompson from Progressive Action, it gave me a better bio about myself than I ever thought about.
You feel me?
A way better bio.
I like using it also for personal development, right? You can get on there and take customized tests to learn about your psychology. You can go in there and say, give me a dossier, right? A dossier is like how the CIA write reports on people.
Right.
So give me a dossier based on the way that, or based on the information that I've been putting into this prompt. Tell me something about myself that I don't know, right? And so it'll spit you out a psychological profile, right? Then you can use it to like, all right, I want to get better in this particular area. Can you test me and then take me through how to improve? Right? You maybe want to put your birthday in there and then give me across all cultural lines, like what is my actual psychological profile of who I am? A lot of times we see ourselves just through like a Western view, right? Then you can use Kabbalah, you can utilize your name, you can use all these different metric points. And I believe what's going to happen is we're going to have this real customized society that people are going to have so much information about themselves. And I think that's the best thing you can do right now with it starting off is learn about yourself. Right. In ways that you normally never could. What type of thinker are you? Are you a deductive, an abductive thinker? What type of reasoning do you apply? So you get it to ask you questions, because even the IQ test, right, that wasn't a real measurement of Black people's intelligence because it had so much nuance that wasn't based on our world. Right. So now you get to customize and understand yourself a little differently, right? Based on the way that I speak, right? What does this say about me, right? And then ask it, okay, what is this? What is the science of that? So now you get to start deep diving and start getting into this research. So everybody should, what I look at that as well is that it's already studied the categories of science and psychology and it has a degree. You don't need the degree. Your goal is figuring out how to manage something with that degree of knowledge at this point in time. So this is why they say philosophy is going to be a higher degree for a lot of people, is because philosophy is the art of thinking, right? It's not being stuck inside boxes. You're allowing your mind to flow. Storytelling is key. So now you're speaking to the AI to get ideas and answers outside the normal box of society. So a lot of people is going to lose their jobs to it. 80% of the jobs that's created now. The WEF put out a report saying it's going to lose like 97 million jobs. But then there's going to be even more jobs created. Created by who? You can go in there right now and see something that I don't see. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole point. Like, what would MATHHOFFA utilize it for? Right? Because we do media two different ways. I see how you slice yours up and move yours through. Mm-hmm. Then I got a different way of doing it. I might want to go on there and study your method, right? Mm-hmm. Then I might study mine. Then I might say, okay, how do you blend these two methods together? You feel me? Then I might get a new algorithm out of that. So what they're doing is they getting all of our data every time that we use it, which is why it's important to have a model that runs local on your computer. So we're not feeding them to replace us. Because now if I know how 19 keys think, then I don't need 19 keys. Right. So this is why it's dangerous for us to use their models. And this is why it was important for DeepSeek to come out with one. Just run that local so you're not giving them all your information.
When you say their models, what models
well, I'm talking
particular?
about Sam Altman, right? Then you got Google, then you got Microsoft, right? All of them have their own models. It's like a country, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. Every country is going to have their own AI. Mm-hmm. Every religion have their own AI, right? Everybody will have their own customized AI that knows you, knows what you want, right? You say, I got 19 keys coming over in 30 minutes. I need you to give me some thought-provoking things about it. Maybe they go search my Instagram, see what I've been talking about recently, and then they spit out some talking points. Hey, 19 Keys had a video just earlier. He was talking about that. Maybe you should ask about it like this. So now, look.
We're going to mute that out. We're going to block that out.
So now, right, what does it do? It saved you time. To me, AI is like a wealth transfer because that's the biggest thing it saves you. Think about all the processes in your life that require a whole lot of time. Now, and I'm talking about mental things, right? There's some research and development is probably the most important thing that we don't do enough of. We just kind of go with the flow with a lot of things. So this is why we do spread a lot of misinformation because most people don't do no research. Now you got a research assistant for any project that you want. There's no excuses for Black America to be like, we can't do this when AI can give you a detailed plan of actually how exactly you can do that. Then that means like, all right, are you gonna be a man or a woman and be willful to actually do it? So the dangerous thing is now when you get the plan, that's no longer the excuse. You got no excuses. And they saying, are you gonna execute? Now that's when you sitting there with yourself and being like, damn, whole time I actually didn't really want the plan because now I'm exposing myself to me. That I'm not one of those people that's gonna actually execute. And everybody online that talks shit about anybody else, what stops you from doing it yourself? Right? When you don't like a certain leader, you pick apart them. You don't like 19 Keyz, who wear the sun, moon, and stars, fly as hell. If that's your problem, why don't you do it? I'll give you the blueprint.
Right.
But the difference is, do you have the willfulness? And a lot of people aren't human enough to do it. They machine-like. They just know how to memorize things. They know how to react, don't know how to respond. Mm-hmm. You just react. What is this? I don't like it. That's just your little animal brain.
Right.
Your God body brain, man, I got to take a second and understand the context. He might have said this, but let me think about who 19 Keyz is. Let me think about who Math is. I know that on Twitter, there's a small amount of characters that's being spoken. So he couldn't have gave me all the information of what he's thinking. Now, that's somebody who's thinking to understand like your process of thinking before they respond. That's responding. Reacting, the fuck this nigga talking about, man? And you go Twitter finger up. Right. You feel me? You do a little Twitter finger drive-by, just talk some shit and go about your day. That's just reacting. I don't like that.
That's like everybody.
Exactly.
Like,
but
crazy.
The whole world is stuck on that. It ain't just black people. White people be stuck in these little cycles, not knowing that the elites just playing games on them. The elites play it to where, how about we run scapegoating tactics? Instead of y'all focusing on us for making asset prices high as hell, you can't afford nothing. You can't even buy no goddamn eggs no more. You can't buy eggs. You feel me? But we gonna say we gonna get rid of the trans kids, which is fine. I love the fact that they from the sports.
Right. From the sport.
From the sports.
From the sport.
I'm listening to myself in real time. From the sports.
Right.
But you feel like that's a win in your life when everything else is still too expensive for you to live out the American dream. And instead of you focusing on who actually has real power in laws and administrative positions and things of that nature, I'd rather scapegoat a celebrity to say they the problem with the world. No, you got to actually go to the people that's behind the scenes, behind the veil. So scapegoating makes you go to the person that's closest to you, right? This is why there's a lot more in-house fighting. Right? White people go directly to black people. We talk about celebrities instead of actually going to the managerial elite ruling class that actually has the power. It's just scapegoating. It's a psychological tactic
We
elites
still talking about the
forever.
FBA?
Nah. I'm talking about everybody at this point. Look at white people scapegoat black people for their problems. They scapegoat to say our culture is violent, as if that has something to do with every white president and every bad decision that they've made. Mm-hmm. And every white banker and every white big farmer and every white terrorist that never did something in this country, right? We ain't changed the drug price in this country ever. We not the reason that the rents are sky high. We not the reason that Hollywood demoralizes the society and makes them think slow. We not the reason for them pushing the effeminization on an entire people in a society and emasculating men in society. You can't blame black culture on that, right? It's those who control that's in those positions. But people are afraid of having the responsibility to address the real boogeyman behind the scenes.
No, but I don't think people have a name or a place to point.
That's why you point to whoever closest.
Right.
I think if they do, people tend to attack the low-hanging fruit first.
Well, look at who would be, okay, let's do this then. Who would be the most likely person that you would point to right now that you would say is an elite? He has an overt amount of power and control in society, and if he wanted to shift things in a direction for the better, he could.
Trump.
Nope. Yeah, Elon.
That was my guess.
So what he got? He got the Doge.
Mm-hmm.
What's the Doge? The Doge, this ain't the first time a Doge existed. The Doge was a position in a oligarch society in ancient Venice. It lasted for 1,100 years. Napoleon Bonaparte is the reason that it fell. But the governing class at that time, the elites, would position somebody as the Doge for that society to do things that they normally couldn't do, right? So now he looked at their blueprint all them thousands of years ago and said, well, I'm going to become the Doge in today's time, right? I need to do things that politicians can't do. Donald Trump is the president. I'm going to be the Doge. They created it as an acronym, Department of Government Efficiency.
Right.
But Doges had lasted for hundreds of years, right? At a certain point in time, they just became symbolic power, right? This person that we use to kind of scapegoat that's doing things. And behind the scenes, you got this shadow government that's running these plays. But right now, he's the Doge of America.
But essentially, it's still the USA AID.
Well, all of that shit is that's just smoke and mirrors, right? You want to go after the real players. They are running the first 100-day play of the, what's the thing that all the Democrats is mad? The Project 2025. Their playbook is out there, right? They tell you everything that they go do. They just push the bill to protect Christians, right, from Christian bias, right? Like they running every play that they said, Christian nationalism. So when you look at that, Elon Musk is unchecked power, right? The politicians don't know how to deal with him because they have created them a Doge. They said, we go get this man power to rule and do things, cut the government. They trying to stop him from getting the treasury books because he's not even doing it himself. He got algorithms and machines that's going in there and cutting things. And he's saying this out loud, right? And his plan is very obvious. But instead of the people looking at Elon Musk and saying, man, he's an elite that's controlling things, Elon Musk get out there and points at other elites so you don't look at him. So now he's smart enough to play the game, but he's about transhumanism. He ain't about no Christianity. So you get people like Candace Owens that be like, man, I don't think this dude is with us. I think he's playing the game. He want to put brain chips in everybody. He controls satellites, right, and algorithms, right? And he controls this picture of the world. And he goes on there and he sparks nationalism, telling them, make Europe great again, right? And then he got all his buddies gaslighting the South Africans out there and trying to make them feel like they doing something corrupt because they trying to get their land back. He uniting all these white people, right, under this guise to say, nigga, he's been telling people we not having enough babies. We about to be minorities. That's what he's been pushing, right? He's not talking about the whole world. Africa having a lot of babies. The Asians having a lot of babies. He's saying white people are not having enough babies, right? So that puts a fear of annihilation. That means that we're in an emergency time. How do we get more power, right? We need more power. And if we're going to be a minority in this time, then it's not going to be based on our numbers. So let's have robots. Let's replace the brain power with AI power. We don't need niggas no more. We don't need people no more, right? At first, it's going to feel like a convenience. You go consent to it. It's like, it's making my life better. And then you're going to realize it's just controlling your life. So that's why I say today, they're not going to do a physical war against you. They're going to get you to consent to everything. And you're not even going to realize it.
The world will grow wiser and weaker.
100%. This is the crises that we face. And this is why no amount of boycotting, no amount of DEI, none of those things are going to matter if we don't have our own systems, right? It ain't about who's the hero. It ain't about 19 keys, none of that. It's about, do you have your own system? That's it.
So in your opinion, we've come too far to go backwards or to, we have to deal with this now.
The Al Sharpton era is dead. It's over.
Not even, yes, but
say that again, please.
Hold on a second.
The Al Sharpton era is dead.
From the technology standpoint, you're saying that there's no way around opting out anymore.
Yeah, building, just having your own, doing your own.
But that's still not opting out.
Yeah, it is. It's saying that the technology here, you can't uninvent it.
That's what I'm asking.
Right? Once it's here, use it, master it. Mm-hmm. Right? Otherwise, it masters you.
Right.
I put it out there a long time ago. During the 1995 Million Man March, greatest gathering of black men, right, on the planet in one single space peacefully. But what was happening at that same time? They was launching the IPO for the internet at that time. You know what I'm saying? Netscape. Now, we didn't have any knowledge of the internet in a vast amount. We didn't see that as a possible threat, right, to where there was going to be this new grid and new network that's being built out around us. If our parents had knowledge of it, they would have bought internet domains. They would have been millionaires and billionaires today just by buying domain names.
Right.
But we didn't understand it. So here we are trying to find economic solutions, not realizing like there's a technological revolution that we should be focusing on and investing in, so that once it becomes this big thing, we own a large portion of it. So we've been fighting for consideration, right, inside these things instead of ownership. The only fight is ownership. The only respect, no matter how much diversity groups they make, none of it matters. No matter how much so-called money they deploy or commit to black communities, it don't matter. Because first of all, they know it's coming right back to us. You're going to be grateful. right? Al Sharpton was in Costco was trying to tell people go spend money there because they being nice to us. It's stupid. The only thing that matters is you got to run the same play Elijah Muhammad ran and power that network up with a digital network now. So what do? Do we have a physical location? No, we already know the play on that. That should just get knocked down. We got a digital grid where everybody connected to. How can we do that? Well, we got blockchains now. At first it was like, bro, this shit is impossible. Now there was a new technology that came out. We look at Bitcoin as just a price. It's a technology. It is one of the greatest technologies ever invented to where it's unhackable. And it's been unhackable thus far, and all nations around the world tried it.
Right.
But what does it mean? Decentralization, it's literally the dream of any radical, right? That we can build our own banks, our own systems, our own social platforms, right? And they don't own it. And we can create new type of corporations that's called decentralized autonomous organizations. They call DAOs. It means that if everybody in here decided to be a part of this DAO, you get voting power. So where we say everybody put in, it's $100 million in here. What y'all want to do with it? Then we vote. Then it becomes a meritocracy. We have a full roundtable discussion. And then by the time we done with the conversation, we actually employing dollars to get that done, right? That's building systems. We come around and be like, yo, maybe we don't want to do fan base, right? All right, what is the ideal? What is our ideal platform? Well, now everybody that like the ideal, listen, they voted. We already got the money. We go deploy the money into it. Once it gets hot, everybody else go come. The problem is that we go to their systems and make it hot. But if we have the system, it's already hot. You know what I'm saying? Everybody comes to ours. And we don't realize that, bro, we are the center, but we've made white people the center of our world. And we compare everything to them, not realizing they need us to be in their world in order to make it hot. We ain't going to their restaurants, ain't nobody black cooking. But you put a black chef up there that's award winning, that know how to shake them seasonings, and I'm in there every day.
Right.
You feel me? But if you show me this pasty girl up there talking about she the best chef in the world, don't even worry about it. I'm going to a bread restaurant down the street. You can keep your 6, 7, 8, 9 stars. It don't even matter. You feel me? Fuck the Michelin stop. You feel me?
Oh man,
I'm going wherever we stop.
My man 19 said no pancakes in the kitchen.
Yeah, I'm done with it.
When you talk about when you talk about blockchain and you talk about Bitcoin, what's your position on BRICS?
I mean, that's them saying that we gonna make our own shit. That's all of those countries getting together and saying essentially what black people should be doing. All the countries doing the same thing right now, right? And this is why I study micro and macro trends. So I look at the macro trend. It actually tells you they have the best research groups in the world. So they tell you how to respond to things when something happens. You see what the billionaires do what they do. I don't have a research group that they employ millions and millions of dollars to figure out what's the best method. So BRICS decided to say, okay, how about we just create our own currency? Because during 2020, when the world shut down, we realized our dependency on America was way too high. They put sanctions on Russia. And the other countries got afraid. They like, man, if they go do that to them, then they can threaten us with the same thing. Now Trump is doing that with tariffs, so-called tariff wars, right? Making everything expensive for everybody because all these systems are caught up in the global net. We all depend on each other. The problem is Americans are the biggest consumers on the planet, right? So it does make a threat to people when we say we're going to make it more expensive for them to buy your product. It makes Americans want to spend less on outside entities. Then we're going to incentivize taxes so that we can do reshoring so that companies that's in America are incentivized to keep them here and work here, which I'm with. Right. I think that's smart. I did a tour to some U.S. manufacturers last year, and they was losing business because everybody's going to China because it's cheaper.
Right.
The problem with American manufacturing is too expensive. So yes, you got to incentivize it so they can keep their prices down, right? And they get these tax deductions and things of that nature so that they can be profitable.
Right.
And then you should force countries to say, you know what? If you're going to be making billions of dollars, you have to force factory production out here, right? If black Americans aren't going to spend a disproportionate amount of our dollar with somebody else, then we need 10% in this. This is the idea of like, that's why you can't fault BLM 100% because there was billions of dollars that went to a lot of people because they forced the play. We got to get away from influence, which is soft power, to force, which is saying that we're not asking y'all got to. What happens if we don't spend no money with you? Like, we be talking to them like we got to be nice. Why if you don't talk to each other nicely? Donald Trump up there saying, man, nigga, we going to make Canada broke and then we going to take Canada.
All right. So
he went full Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, that's crazy. That'd be wild. You know, I think about that. Like, what happens to the deportees? Because half of Flatbush is in Toronto right now. But anyway, get back.
Shout out to OVO, man.
Yeah, getting past that. How do you recognize the things that are destabilizing us from unifying? How do you can you give me 3 major things that you recognize, like, okay, these things were designed specifically to keep us from getting to this goal?
I think the major part, I think, is history. I think it's the story we tell ourselves, right? We all have different versions of it. We don't have one version of history, so we got different identities.
Right.
You know, history, it shapes our psychology, how we feel about ourselves, right? We don't realize, like, diversity is this room right here, right? We look at it as diversity is white, black, Mexican. No, black men are diverse as hell, right? And we've allowed them to control too much of the narrative through our media. Media is our #1 weapon, and we have to control. It's you can't do anything else until you get the story that people believe in their head right.
Right.
We all have to believe we're going to the same place, so we taking the same instructions, going to the same direction, right? And we are part of all the same process. So we having the same conversation when we talking. We talk economics, okay, but to everybody in here, that might mean something different, right? So now we got to get to a baseline for you understand the same history. Now we understand the same language.
Right.
In a conversation, you have to establish a baseline to make sure y'all talking about the same thing. Otherwise, y'all talking to each other, but y'all talking about completely 2 different things, and then y'all start arguing and can't figure it out. And most of the time, that's the simple thing. So for me, it's the media piece that is the most important one in the world. But how do you fix that? There's a lot of conversations got to happen behind the scenes, right? #1. But I'll give a general one is the fact that you got a platform, I got one, right? You got the Joe Buttons out there, you got Charlemagne, you got the EYLs out there, right? You got a bunch of people. They put me, Shannon Sharp, and Joe Budden on this list. And they were saying that these right-wing influencers, right? Stephen A.
Mm-hmm.
They put us all, it was our 3 faces on, I think it's MSNBC, and it was this Democratic Party that did this research group that essentially was trying to identify who are the influential voices, right, that can shift, right, things in a different direction. And so they said that we had right-wing talking points. But then they gave points to how do you destabilize these voices and kill their credibility so their influence wanes on their own community, right? Because obviously we gonna be disproportionately black men.
Right.
But then I'll look at that and say, okay, well, y'all telling us that we have the power, that we can literally shift this election. Roland Martin, whether you like him or not, right? He was on EYL and he was giving a breakdown of how they spent $600 million, but like less than 1% of that went to black media, right? So the Democrats lost it by themselves. They didn't respect black media enough. They tried to run a campaign against you, but instead they could have recruited you. If they would have went to, I promise you, if they would have sat down and math, got 10 million for you right now. We need you protesting out in the streets for us.
Right.
Man would have had the goddamn government pin on. I love Kamala shirt. You feel me? He would have slapped somebody up for it.
Now, I'll be honest with you. You know, me and Mecc disagreed on who we wanted to pick to be the next president. But yeah, Trump shot a commercial in here. So, you know.
I'm going to say this. You guys had 2 of the best RFK interviews.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you 2 guys had 2 of the best. And it helped a lot in our community because both of you have influential platforms. And, you know, the talks behind the scenes.
Well, they ain't cutting no checks, though.
They didn't cut checks, but they cut them to somebody.
All right.
So a lot of people felt like the checks were cut to certain celebrities, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that is where celebrity influence kind of showed
That
everyone that they were.
Well, they don't have the
weren't
power because they don't
trusted.
have connection.
Well,
The celebrities don't have connection to community.
Right.
A person, okay, so you go get Denzel Washington. It seems like Denzel Washington is a goddamn GOAT. But you're not listening to Denzel as much as you listen to Math. He's having political conversations that you agree with. And so I'm more connected to his opinion than I ever would be Denzel.
But besides that, we live in a climate where we kind of demonize celebrities. So why would we listen to them now?
Another thing,
it didn't make sense to me. When I seen people popping up on stage, it was like, okay, what do we think these people was at the Diddy party? Like, why we? Why you using it?
List?
You know what I'm saying? Like, made no sense. But I want to get back to all right. So history. You said history is very important.
Yeah.
Confusing our history.
Right. The media of the history, like history and media, I would say is the top. Media is the number one, right? Mm-hmm. Then you got education.
Right.
Education shapes who we are, right? What we know, how we see ourselves, how we informed about the world. All of us have a different education, right? If we had one single education, right, to where we was all learning the same things. I can go on average man on the street been studying Black History Month his whole life. And I give him a breakdown about the Seminole Wars or Elijah Muhammad Network. He might not know nothing about it, but he considers himself highly educated in history. Why wouldn't you know this if these are like these are not like small things that you can brush off? If I did I was utilizing AI to do this, like, what would the world be if Elijah Muhammad never existed? Right? It's a branch that just takes so many things away. Right? The effect that it had on hip hop, religion, politics, economics. I mean, it's countless, right? But take away from the religious aspect, let's look at this as an economic builder, as an entrepreneur, right? We have so many issues with our ancestors that we just pick one or the other. Bro, white people don't care about none of that. This man literally, their ancestors could own slaves and wear them, you feel me, as purses, and they still big them up because they know to learn from the past. We think that we got to pick and choose based on emotions. That's not how it works.
No, actually, I think there is an issue because we spoke about this, I think, privately with the Ancestry.com and how important it was when you were when you visited South Africa and you stood in the cells and you felt like overwhelmed emotionally from knowing the story of it. Yeah. So you doing the push-ups.
Ain't like that.
I'm like, don't fall, nigga, don't fall. Right? But how important is it for Black Americans to just even do Ancestry.com? Because a lot of us can't really trace our lineage back past grandma and grandpa.
I say it's more so about genealogy than it is the Ancestry.coms, because I actually don't think it's important at all. Genealogy of like knowing your family roots for the last 500 years. Right. You go look at your DNA, that's who you are. That's your real story, right? All of your grandparents, great-great-great-great-grandparents, all the experience make you who you are. You get in a percentage of them each time you go down there until it gets to a point where it's like, by the time you go all the way back to Africa or somewhere, that's not who you are.
Right.
But you don't know if your grandpa was fighting in the Seminole Wars as a warrior. You don't know if he was taking enemy ships. You don't know if he was an inventor, creating things. My great-grandfather was a real estate agent who helped fund the case, right, to end racist covenants in America. My great aunt, she was the one that helped on the case with Thurgood Marshall and the reason why you can buy houses in any neighborhood that you want to. When I study stuff like that, I'm like, okay, I had ancestors who put their money where their mind was. You feel me? My great aunt was the first Black woman in the NAACP chairwoman, right? But then she got kicked out because she was older than them. She didn't like how they was using the money. You feel me? That shows me connection. You feel me? Right. That's way more important to me than go looking at some DNA and some haploid groups that I might have a connection to with similar phenotypes. Right. That ain't got nothing to do with what's actually in my blood that shapes me of who I am and my consciousness.
Well, again, I want to spin back because, all right, so when I was younger, I came to a point in my life where spiritually I needed something to hold on, some sort of foundation. And, you know, I had Muslims on my block, God bodies, all that. You know, it was a whole conversation every Friday on the corners or whenever. And I identified with one of my homies who became a Hebrew Israelite because I liked the way that he was moving. I knew who he was before he did that. And he was very well respected. And for him to drop everything that I know he was involved in and do this, there must be something there. Yeah. So when I got introduced to it, and you know, they bring up Deuteronomy 28 in the sermon, and they tell you the story of this chosen people taken to this land, the land of the eagle, all that stuff. It kind of filled me with a different feeling, a sense of pride, because I started to identify with these great people that I've been hearing about in Sunday school forever. Mm-hmm. But that the notion of these people might have the same blood, like it gave me a sense of pride that I walked around with. Of course, I continue to educate myself, and I came to a different understanding. But at that time, it gave me a sense of pride, and I walked around with my head high and my chest out because I felt like I related to something. Now, there's a lot of fatherless children out there. There's a lot of people who don't have that. They don't have something attached to. So they're joining gangs. They're trying to associate with anything that they feel like has a community. So what answers can we give to those people?
Well, that goes back to the beauty of the storytelling. If I'm growing up in Africa, right, and I don't know my history. Let's say you're somewhere in Liberia, and I do my ancestry test, and I found out my ancestors are from America, the Black Americans, revolutionaries like Malcolm and them. I'm gonna be excited as hell. Right. Like, damn, they cold out there. Right. You feel me? I love their culture, their hip hop, their history. And I'll be excited as hell if I'm from somewhere else and I found out that I actually have the same ancestry as the Black Americans. You feel me? And how they've been fighting. Now, if you tell the story a certain way, oh, they were slaves. But if you tell it a different way, no, they was warriors, right? So you really want to have this sense of pride first, being American. Then when you go to another place, when I went out to Africa, I had a sense of pride of who I was first. Because you don't want to go over there kind of like a lost puppy, right? Looking for yourself, right? Because you're not going to get the same respect. Because when you go to Africa, it's broken up into thousands of tribes. And they have a history connected to that makes them who they are. They speak multiple different languages, right? They went up there and they disconnected those people by all these different flags, right? But each one of those have a story behind that. And you have the same story. Like we've been, Ghana is a young country. Nigeria is a young country, right? Liberia comes from slaves escaping, going back and building out what they built over there. And this is why I'm saying the sense of pride you got to have in being a Black man in America, right, is key. A copper-colored person in America, we've been cold. I'm telling you, I wouldn't want to be a part of nothing else. You feel me? I've been to South Africa. I've been to the Apartheid Museum, right? Winnie Mandela was a cold revolutionary. Right. She wanted to destroy everything. That's why they had to get her out the way and get Mandela up there, right? There was a revolution in Soweto. When you go out there, I respect any people that have a revolutionary fighting spirit. You feel me? I love the story of the Dogon charting the stars, and they was a cosmic people. Right. I love the story of ancient Kemet, how they utilized astronomy to be able to map and do agriculture and build their civilization. I love the ancient Egyptians, but I don't think they got shit on us. I don't think they invented, I don't think they've been through the same level of resilience. That pride that I have in like being me, you feel me? When I look at a orator like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I would love to be able to call 1 million people, and you got other kings from other places trying to give you $1 billion because you leading your people revolutionary, right? I'd love to be Malcolm X coming from a pimp and turning his mind into one of the coldest on the planet Earth to be revered. Right. I'd love to be Marcus Garvey, you feel me? That created a parallel world to them white folks. O.W. Gurley or Booker T. Washington that had his own economy. You feel me? You a sister looking at Madam C.J. Walker and what she did. Like, we got so much in our past. David Clark, that was a free man that was writing books telling people how to be on code. You feel me? You got Frederick Douglass. He want to smile in the picture because one shit funny, but he was the coldest abolitionist on the planet. You feel me? Like, we got so much history that you can just keep going on and on and on and on. And you like, bro, these got to be the coldest people that ever exist. Right. How did there was whole free men during the whole entire time of slavery at the same time. There was Black families. It's just, we have a boule that believe that they the talented 10th to rule the rest of us, and they work with the other society to keep us down. Right? Mm-hmm. So we have to understand that our war is within. It ain't nobody else. I can't go to Ghana and become a better man. Right? I have to have that within. And don't get me wrong, when I went to Ghana, it felt the safest I ever been to any place on the planet Earth. I realized that we stay in a conflict zone. all day long. And we just wear armor everywhere we go. You got the security by the door. You got to look out. I don't know if this brother trying to rob me. What's going on?
Right.
Put the jewelry up. Like,
on a swivel.
I'm out there with all this extra armor on, just like mentally and spiritually. Then I realized I don't even need all that. These people really are cool. I seen a brother walking with a whole family, and it was somebody honking the horn at him to get out the street. And he just calmly grabbed his kids and was like, let's just get out the way. Let's just move. I thought he was about to curse blood out. I said, oh, he about to whoop blood ass. He was chill. I said, in New York, you'll never see that.
Right.
You would never see that. It blew my mind. It was just this one moment. I'm looking like everybody involved. He wasn't even honking the horn maliciously. He was just letting them know, like, yo, you in the street.
Right.
You feel me? And I was like, these people are really chill. You feel me?
Right.
And so it wasn't that, oh, I feel the pride of being a Ghanaian. I sat down with Freedom, who's one of the top real estate brokers right in that country. He owns a lot of hotels. And we had a conversation between a Black American and an African and how we see the world, how we see ourselves, and what's the possible reality, right? It was important to have those type of dialogues because then you really see that, damn, we are different people. We really are. We got a different mindset. You feel me? And knowing that you come there with so much, the problem is that we export the wrong things about us into other countries. Because when we go out there, they gonna know 50 Cent before they know Malcolm X. They gonna know him before they know Farrakhan. That means we exporting hip hop and they gonna say, what's up, nigga, before they say, what's up, God. You know what I'm saying? They not gonna see you as a social movement revolutionary. They gonna see you as hip hop shows you and the movie shows you and what they can afford to know about you and see.
Right.
And even the ones up the high up, they only have that context. So this is why media is important because we're not controlling our image globally to be respected. You know what I'm saying? And you don't realize how that story shapes how they view you when you come over there. They don't see you as you. You feel me? They see you as this image that they relate to what they know about an American. Right? And so you're this stereotypical version of these Black niggas that come over here, man, y'all cool, got the chains, man. What do you do? Like, that's their relation to it. They love it, but they don't respect it in a manner to where, because they don't see it correctly.
Right.
Our history is not is not entertainment. It's revolution. That's what we've done the most out of anything in our history is revolution. But we've tricked it to make it look like, no, we just the best entertainers and just kill each other. Man, we've been fighting and innovating and building. So I just love being from this tribe. You feel me? I think that we code. And this is why I don't have an issue with anybody who has that sense of pride. Now, if you want to then do some understandings, do some trace root to go back thousands of years, I'm fine with that. But do it from a place of first self-awareness and pride. You feel me? Not that you're finding yourself. You're extending your understanding of your genetic makeup. You feel me? Because even those don't give you the direct. It says that you have DNA similar to this haploid group, right? So Nigerians have some of these same genetic markers. So you might be Nigerian. Doesn't mean you actually are.
Right.
And Nigerian is something that's new that was created. It wasn't always there. The word Ghana wasn't there when your ancestors was there. So you couldn't be that. This is a new cultural pride that they have in this idea of this new state that they have. Africa wasn't divided like it is today. So that's why you have to say, man, we've been in America longer than these countries have been around. So have pride in being who you are as an American. And it's funny because I never thought that I would say that until actually going to Africa and realizing like, bro, we really are different people.
It's a fact.
Not better, not worse, just different.
Yeah, I mean, you know, not better or worse. I think we're better at fighting than any other people. We're better at fighting back. We're better at recognizing our enemy, right? Africa got a lot of problems from top to bottom. Right? Things that they couldn't do. And unfortunately, a lot of time they looking for somebody to save them. There's a new class of Africans that's young. They got this spirit and they getting exposed to things outside what they've been taught. So they thinking outside these reflections that they elders give them. And they're like, wait a minute, I follow 19 Keyz. He be talking that talk. He told me I can do whatever I want to. Now you go and taking that mentality back to wherever you are, it changes the way you converse with other people.
Right.
So globalization is changing Africa. Africa is largely a broadband desert. They don't have the internet everywhere, right? When you go to Ghana, they're still paying, right, for data. So a lot of people can't just stream. So even that changing that trajectory to where, you know, you got Mark Zuckerberg building a big W cord out there to Africa. Then you got Elon Musk providing the satellites. Again, it's dangerous though, because with all of the cobalt, all of the minerals, the Africans should be doing that themselves.
Right.
There's no opportunity in Africa if it's not owned by Africans. If it's a country that's, again, owned by the Chinese, owned by the French, owned by Americans, then there's no value in it. There's only value if those people become completely independent of all these ties. Now, we can do business with them if they say we want to do business, right? Because we have knowledge, we have influence, we have skill sets. It's a reason they want to bring all these black people to Dubai, right? Because you bring in billions of dollars worth of influence with you, right? Look at Kanye West, great example. When everybody was saying he's not a billionaire, I was saying, how is he not a billionaire if his influence of going to Adidas is what made him a billionaire? The only thing he was missing was the infrastructure to go direct to consumer.
Right.
So when he did the Super Bowl ad, what he did, he captured that data. Then when he told Yeezy or Adidas, stop goddamn reverting my traffic to y'all website, they stopped it. And then he said, okay, now evaluate this. How much it's worth? Right? Now I can get direct access to my community at any time, right? And I can sell them hundreds of millions of dollars at merch. How much is that worth? Because it's basically the same as saying that instead of having to deal with Adidas, I got to deal with myself and I own the infrastructure. So if Kanye West goes to any country, how much is that worth? Right? It's worth billions. Right. So UAE pays him to go do something. They understand that he's converting attention, and every influencer is an economy. You might be a city. You might have 10,000 people you can influence. You might be a country, you might have 1 million people. You might be a state, you might have 100,000. At this point in time, we have to realize the power of our influence and stop giving this shit away for cheap. Because everybody needs us. I don't care who they is, everybody needs us. But they're trying to get to a point where they no longer dependent on us.
Or they're low balling.
Yeah, but that's because they don't want you to know your value. If we pay one of y'all too much, then all of y'all gonna want more.
All right, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. But when we come back, I want to talk about the other two things that you feel like keeps us separated. I want to get back to this list of 2 other things that you see like that's divisively, that's deviously created to divide us.
Right. I would say the next one is ethics. We don't have a code of morals.
What ethics?
Exactly. So we just had a conversation about.
Is that why snitches are
Oh, for sure. We ain't got no code. There's no code.
So popular right now.
When I went to Japan, they got the Bushido. The
Right.
Bushido is like, let's say if we took every one of our ancestors, right, from the last 400 years, and we took all of their wisdom and it became our Bible, how we go live. They did that with their samurai warriors, their shoguns, things of that nature. And they built a culture off of that. Because in their culture, they realize a man not only needs the art of war, but the art of peace. So it'd be a general, they'd be telling a story how he done sliced some heads off. And then the next story would be how he was one of the greatest gardeners in the world. It was this balance that they had.
Right.
You feel me? To where they then took that Bushido and they went through a period of economic stagnation because they was focusing on how do we create a great culture, right? So it wasn't just capitalism, let's just get money. That's not their society, right? So if you look at Black America, we would have to go through that period of building out a culture that we agree to. Like, what's our code? What's our ethics? What's our values or morals? What do we consider honor, right? Can somebody just talk about a dead person? Is that part of the code or the ethics?
Right.
Maybe not, maybe so, right? Where is that point to where somebody goes too far, they don't? And this is something that everybody decides to live by, but how do you do it? This is why all these things are intertangible with each other. I grew up watching anime, right? We watched Dragon Ball Z. What did it told a story, right? A man that goes through battle and resilience, and they sometimes fought with honor and courage. That was part of Bushido. Those stories that were told in anime is because those are cultural codes that they're immersing their people in. Right. So every anime you watch, they got that storytelling. You're like, why is this animator so wise? It's not his wisdom, it's the wisdom of the Bushido.
Right, like Naruto.
And they put that in every movie. They put that in the songs.
Yeah.
The police gotta follow. Everybody follows that. So you live in it. And when you go to Japan, when I was out there, you know, if you go out and you early for work, where you go park at? Right in front, right? Because you early. We're out there, there was an interesting culture that happened where people that showed up early will park further away. Why they did that? Because they know some people will be late, so they had the courtesy allowing them to get the space, right? And you think about something small like that. How we would never do that in America, right? And then you realize, like, damn, we don't have no cultural cohesion. We don't have no empathy towards each other, right? When I'm out there, they built a society to where I don't have to speak Japanese, but the world is built in a way for humans to understand it, right? It's an empathy and design and be like, we built this so you don't get lost. Right, you go through the airports. Our airport's confusing as hell. There's as simple as hell. We had left some baggages when we was going from Kyoto to Okinawa, and this lady came and she worked with us and she walked us through the airport to go pick up our bags, and she told everybody else when we was getting our way. It was just concierge service, and we just regular people walking through. There ain't no 19 Keyz. I mean, not yet. You feel me? I get on Instagram. We spread the philosophies. Right. But when you think about it, like, we have to have a real culture that's built on a philosophy that we all agree on. Religion, no matter what your religion is. You feel me? You can be Israelite, you can be Moor, you can be Muslim, you can be Christian, but what is our code that we all agree on so that everybody can be held accountable to a standard, right? You can be mad at somebody, but bro, we ain't got no code we agreed to. How you gonna say this person can't do that? When did we have an agreement? The no snitching was an agreed upon code to say if I'm a street dude, I don't snitch. We don't get soft target civilians of women and children. That was a code, right? There were certain things you didn't do, but now there's no code. So it becomes anarchy, right? It's just complete chaos. So you have to put a code that creates the order. So now you can check people, and then people can check themselves. Because now you say something to body and they like, bro, I abide by a different code than you. I don't give a fuck what you talking about. You feel me? Like, how you go check me? I'm not checking you. I'm saying that you said you subscribe to this and you're not following it. If I see a Muslim brother eating pork sitting with a white girl, I ain't got to know him from nothing. He's sitting there with a bow tie red. Bro, you tripping. You feel me? I ain't got to know him from nowhere. He know he's tripping. I could be in Belgium somewhere. He thought he hiding. Bro, is this bow tie something from here? And I start listening. Oh, you a Muslim? What's your name? Sharif? Oh. Come on, man. What you doing? What you doing? He can't get mad at me. Like, this brother caught me, man. I ain't following the code that I live by. You feel me? But that should be any black man across the spectrum. When we make movies, we make music, we make entertainment, when we build businesses, we should all have a code. They live by something called ikigai, where you do what you love. When it's like building out your purpose map for your life. It has to be something you love to do, first of all. Then it has to be something you're good at, right? To give you a purpose and give you a mission. Then it has to be something that the world needs. So whether you're a barber, right, or you want to be a politician, the world needs those things, right? And then it has to be something that makes money, because we have to exchange your commerce daily.
Lastly.
So now they're not focusing on retirement because they're doing something that they love, right? We live in this world where it's shaped by these time constraints. How can I make some money real quick? I'm just busy. Man, my Uber driver was happy when I was out there. They running to open up the car door, right? And if they wasn't opening up the car door, they built every car to where it has a button where it just opens and closes for you. You feel me? When I was going to the hotel, I felt like they was putting on the act. I was looking to see if they were still smiling. They were still smiling when I walked away. I said, wait a minute. I caught you. Nope, they were still, I'm happy. I'm like, nah, this don't make no sense. The only problem is it puts it puts tension on the people to always keep up, because everybody's supposed to be happy. You're not supposed to bring shame to your family. So you got a picture of a burger in your restaurant. When people go there, it don't look nothing like that. You bring shame to your family. You know what I'm saying? So that allows them to have this check and balance, because nobody wants to bring shame to their family. It's the worst thing that you can do. We don't care about it. You can walk around and do the worst thing. Your kids can see it. Your mama on OnlyFans. You don't care about no shame. And how we go justify it? But they get money, though. You get money, it means we got a prostitute culture. As long as they get money, because you will sell yourself for $1. So that code also means that now we make money way too high. When white people get money, they're not doing it for the money. Now, don't get me wrong, not all of them. I don't like saying blatant statements like that, but I mean those who go for power. They want to be powerful. My brother Keenan was talking to this white dude who's a billionaire. He's at this party. He said, how come you think no black people have made it to where you are? And he said, because I never met a black man as greedy as me. Right? he got an insatiable crave for power and money that he had never let go. But he ain't happy for shit. Ain't got no joy in his life, depressed. Because there's no fulfillment. It's just a void.
Right.
So even when you look at the people that we idolize, bro, you don't know how they living behind the scenes.
He's on track to become a supervillain.
Right. You know, and black men unfortunately be wanting to be white men that are depressed and only want power, but that's not our psychology. It's not sustainable for us. If we fuck over too many people, it messes us up. You feel me? Our nervous system is always rattled to where we can never relax because we know we did so much wrong in the world that karma gotta come get us. When they do it, they're psychopaths, so they don't feel, right? So you can't follow the actions of a psychopath who don't even have that psychological barrier of empathy. I don't feel when I do something wrong to nobody.
You can't grow a conscience.
So it was a study that showed like the 1% of the top CEOs all have this psychopathy, right? They have these dark traits. These dark traits, the triad of Machiavellianism, right? Look in hip hop, Tupac was spreading Machiavelli. That means get your way no matter who's in your way. You feel me? It's shrewd capitalism and business. That's what America was built off of. Then you got psychopathy, right? To where you really don't care at all what nobody else thinks. You don't feel at all when you do things. You completely narcissist. Everything is about me and nobody else.
Right.
Then you have sadism, to where you find pleasure in other people's pain, right? So when you start going down those dark paths, you feel me? You get good at it because you tapping into your dark side. And that's when you go back to the Bushido. You know the art of war, but the art of peace. You know darkness, but you know light, right? When you look at the dollar sign, it's an S. That comes from, and you got the two stripes. So if you go deep into that, that comes from Hercules holding on to these pillars, right? And when you think about it, it's a psychology, if you will, that a man has to be in between holding his light and his darkness. When anyone rules, he has a weakness.
Hercules or Samson?
Well, for the Greeks and stuff, it was Hercules. You know,
okay.
for us, it was me. You know what I'm saying? I would throw myself in the imagery. But just think about that idea that we have to start giving people this balance of how to live. Right? They have this practice of how to clean your house, right? They say you clean during the daytime because it's called tidying. It's an art of tidying, right? And it's more so about your mind. So even they show like, you know, kids don't like cleaning up, but because they teach them the reason why, it's not about the actual cleaning up. It's about getting your mind together. So while you doing this is mindfulness. When you cleaning up things, it's putting the clutter in your mind back.
That's where wax on, wax off came from?
Yeah, Mr.
Okay.
Miyagi.
I'm just saying.
So,
that's where I got it.
And then they say you supposed to, you clean up during the day and you tidy at night. So at nighttime, you're not supposed to be cleaning. You just getting your mind prepared to close down shop. You feel me? But when you think about that, there's a philosophy for everything. So it connects it deeper. You're not just doing this because somebody told you so. Yeah. You have a reason why you're doing it. And that trains your brain to be connected to it in every aspect. Well, I'm going to treat this woman right. There's a philosophy behind how you benefit as well. Because we always looking for our own benefits. A lot of people say, why do nice men finish last? They supposed to because they let everybody else go first. They don't have control of their darkness. And a woman seeks a man with the dark traits because she say, if he that Machiavellian, he gonna get that money. You feel me? If he narcissistic, he got the traits to be the one out the group. You feel me? If he get into that money, he can provide and take care of me. So there's a translation subconsciously when you see men with those dark traits. So unfortunately, guys who consider themselves to be, I'm a good guy, you got so much light and none of the dark. You're not dangerous enough to be a protector. So your goal is, how do I have control over that? You go to, they have a, you know, you see the Japanese with the dragon tattoos with the Yakuza.
Yeah.
Some of them, they have like 5 claws. The more claws they have, the more powerful it is, right? So you can get a dragon with like 5 or like 6 or something like that. And the Yakuza was explaining, he said, you know, I just got 4 because I realized too much power controls you, right? So I was thinking about that, like, you realize that, yeah, you can go for ultimate power, but then it corrupts you. Right. And so even in their own mind, they had a way to temper that. Right? And even those small things that if we had that in our culture, like, yeah, you can get over on them, bro, but you got to realize how that action hurts you. Right? And then how that hurts everybody else. And we don't have enough philosophy and code that we share that become the ethics that we live by. So therefore, we can treat each other however we want as long as we benefit individually. And then we justified it to say, bro, getting money. He a millionaire. He a billionaire, though. But what he doing with it? And then we be like, well, they ain't got no responsibility to do nothing with nobody. Damn, we justified and defend people who don't do nothing. And then when somebody do something for us, a thought leader, a revolutionary activist, we want more from them, because the more you give a person, you start to produce this expectation, right? And then it decreases appreciation because they supposed to do it. So instead of having gratitude for everything that we do for each other, we tear down the people who actually trying to get our mind right. We tear down the people who trying to do for us. And the person who does nothing, if they do anything, I'm appreciative. You meet a man that's just walking by you and he give you $10,000. You feel me? Man, you gonna have gratitude forever. I don't know this dude, he don't owe me nothing.
Mr. Beast.
Yeah. But if you've been working with somebody for years, you feel me, and they've been giving you money your whole life, they give you $10,000, you ain't tripping. Oh, well, bro, hey, matter of fact, when they stop doing it, you gonna have a problem.
Right.
Like, damn, what, we ain't cool no more? We got an issue? You feel me? So we have to get back to a point of gratitude, because that's how we start living in fulfillment and joy. And we have to have a culture that's connected to nature, right? Because we live too much in these cities. Man, I don't know how y'all do it in New York. New York literally makes you crazy. You feel me? That's why I like being in California. I need my palm trees. It lets me know that I'm alive. I need some sunshine outside because I got melanin. And I actually need more sun than the average person. Otherwise, I get seasonal depression.
Do you get sad when you come out here? Especially around this time of year?
I don't get sad. I wouldn't go nowhere if I got sad. But when I realized the temperature was gonna be cold and I was packing, I got a little bit. I had to go in the closet and grab the furs and stuff. Right. I'm outside with the sleeves off. You feel me? I'm listening to, you know what I mean, squabble up. Yeah, I gotta go out there and listen, Minnie, man, I'm in the cold like the world against me. You feel me? So nah, you know, the code is okay, man. It makes y'all a little more hard and more rigid. You know, I realize disrespect out here is, love. Y'all got this shit backwards. Y'all yell at each other and be wildin'.
Listen,
tonight, you get somebody direct. Take your ass up the street.
You can't blame
make a left. Giving me real directions, but yelling. Like,
you can't blame that on us. You can't say that's just us. Because we had Aydin here from Figmunity, and he said, if a girl don't want to fight me, then she don't really love me.
What? He grew up gangbanging and stuff. You feel me? It's a little different, man.
Exactly.
California, West Coast people are nice but not kind. New York people are kind but not nice.
We don't have any Southern hospitality in that capacity. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all can say the most pleasant thing. Yo, man, I'm kind of messed up. Oh, you need money? Oh, that sucks. Oh, that's so bad. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna pray for you having it's Cali, New York. You need what? Take this fucking money. Go ahead. Get the fuck on, man. Go ahead. Take the fucking money. Go ahead. Yeah. Not nice, but kind.
I mean, it's a little different than the Bay, though. You know what I'm saying? Oakland is what I was explaining to somebody the other day. Oakland is different because when you go to most places, like the civil rights era, like rule history in people's mind. In Oakland, it's like the Black Panthers. It's radical resistance. It's resilience. So as a kid, that's what you grow up with. You don't grow up in the civil rights era. Right. You grow up in like this black radical, right, do for self mindset. Right. So you see things differently. You narrate the world in a different way. Right. Right. And so that's why, like, coming from Oakland, it is like this sense of pride. When somebody tell you I'm from Oakland, you feel me? They popping it. Because it's like, yo, I come from like warriors. I come from soldiers. They was militant. Right. You feel me? It's a completely different world than a lot of times coming from a place to say that, yo, we came from slaves and civil rights leaders, and this is the way we go about doing things. So even that, like, understanding, if you haven't traveled, it's hard to us to understand each other because regionally we are different, right? And on the internet, it creates even more problematic because we don't understand each other enough because we got different codes we live by. We got different ways we view ourselves. We got different way we was raised, stories we were told by our grandfathers and uncles, ways we was raised in the street, how to treat women. Now you throw everybody on the internet, what happens? Chaos. So diversity is only a strength when people understand each other because when you understand something, you can accept it, even if you don't like it.
Spin don't like West Coast music.
And I'm fine with it. What can you say?
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Everybody can't be perfect.
Before we get to the third,
come on, Keyz.
Before we get to the third thing, I want to ask you. All right, New York. Our identity icon is the Timberland. What's the identity icon for Oakland?
For Oakland?
Yeah.
Converse?
No.
Chuck Taylor?
You talking about shoes?
Yeah. It could be shoes. It could be anything.
It's not the Chuck Taylor?
Man, I growing
For
up,
Oakland?
I would damn near
Yeah.
say, and because they moved, but it was a Raiders hat for me. I feel like it was nothing more Oakland than
Raiders hat.
Oh, Raiders hat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was like the thing. Raiders hat just felt gangster. You know
That
what I'm
makes
saying?
sense.
It just felt like
Isn't that
cultural
tied to a
pride.
gang though? The Raiders hat?
All hats are tied
I
to
know
gangs
it
out
was.
there now.
I think
No,
you might be
you
thinking
talking
of
about
LA.
LA.
Yeah, they got all kind of different hat politics.
Do
They
you
ain't
want
got
to
that.
know what my girlfriend say? This is crazy.
Or like an A's jersey or something too.
They said guys from like the Bay Area, Oakland, they don't wear boxers. They wear like underwear.
What the hell? You're a
They
creep.
don't.
How does she know? How does she?
That's a long test study, right?
How does she? How many
you wear
people?
boxers or briefs?
How many people did it take for her to figure out?
That is a large testing size to get a real sample population.
Right.
I'm just saying you
Shout
what
that
the
friend out.
girls
Who's
have
she?
said.
Yeah, who is she? Yeah, that ran through
I'm not
Oakland.
doing that. I got a wide network
Who's
of
your-
women.
Who's your
okay?
friend that ran through Oakland?
I got a wide network of women.
She's like, the briefs again. Wow.
Every time.
You must be from Oakland.
I promise you that's what someone said. I promise you
That is
someone
wow.
said that to me.
And she's comparing two coasts. Yeah, that's
Oh
right.
yeah, you're right.
She
You're
should have
right.
kept that
That's
to
good.
herself.
That
Yeah,
came
right. I
from-
would have been like, how you?
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
that's
I have so
wild.
many questions.
Survey says.
How you know she wasn't from out there?
I'm not.
Regardless.
I don't want to know where this
Gotta
woman is
keep my
from. I
thoughts
just
to
want to know that she's
myself.
not
Okay?
around me.
All right, this is what I was thinking.
Have I met her? I met her?
No.
Oh, okay, all right, cool.
Why?
She's talking about
Who
herself,
do you
serious.
bro.
think I'm talking
This
about?
kid, I don't
Yeah,
know.
don't do that.
She got that from AI. That's what she did.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, we sitting there having these building conversations. Next thing you know, who's
I can
drawing
chat
this?
GPT it and
She
ask
chat GPT
if
that.
guys from Oakland wear.
Yo, stop. Stop.
Briefs. All right, I'll stop behaving. Sorry.
You're going to have people using chat GBT
Yeah,
the wrong way. The wrong
It's
way.
$1 billion tool.
Listen,
You trying to find out what kind of underwear niggas wear. Like, what type of
BC gonna be breaking, man.
sorry, y'all. I'm
What is
gonna
wrong with you?
I have a question. As far as
be serious.
I'm usually concerned about this when it comes to technology because there's always somebody who A, builds a better mousetrap and C, can use it for nefarious purposes. My biggest concern whenever a new tool pops up is who's behind it and how they can benefit from it. One of the first things you said about the AI was make sure it's on your computer so it doesn't get sent out.
Local
to other
model.
I worry about, that's where my build a better mousetrap thing comes in. Like, is there a way for somebody to backdoor and get your information?
That's a
and
good
is
question.
that a legitimate concern of yours? Somebody
It
who's
is.
leaning on it this much?
Well, there's two parts to that. First of all, the average person don't care about privacy anymore, right? We consent to give our data away every time we use a new app.
Gat, are you paying attention, sir?
Right.
No, he's giving it away right now.
No, we were just talking about
But let's say even running a local model, right?
For those of us
So-
who value our privacy.
So there's a guy I
and
follow, this white guy on YouTube. His name is Network Chuck. He does these tutorials on how to like download these local models. And literally, I was just watching this today where he downloaded on his computer. Then he was like, okay, let's check if they got any back doors on this. Because he was concerned for the same thing. They might upgrade it, put something in there. So he showed in like under 5 minutes how you can run this program that shows every time you're using it, whether it's sending outgoing signals to any other thing out besides your computer, right? And it constantly updates and it will show you as you're using it, whether these signals are going outside your computer to another server, or is it just using it locally? So there is ways that you can check, right? And I would say maybe for the average person that's not doing too much, it probably won't matter to you. But if you're somebody that, you know, is of importance in doing business on that, then I think cybersecurity is the number one thing that we need to be focusing on.
Right.
Right? Because it's number one, is another thing. Never take pictures and share them in real time. Never take any pictures around your house, period. Right? They now have the programs to where you can just show them a little piece of your house. You can see the neighbor's house and they can put this into an AI program and know exactly where you live instantly.
Wow,
Right?
that's crazy.
You now want to utilize VPNs, right? When you setting up your emails, everything, cybersecurity, even they building out a quantum computer. And to explain this in the simplest matter, I always say it's like picking the right baby mama the first time, right? The way it works is instead of making one choice at a time.
Stop looking at me. Stop looking at me. Stop looking at me. Stop
Instead of
looking at me.
making one checks at a time, like regular computers, what they call binary codes. You feel me? Theirs use qubits, and it basically says that it can be more than one thing at once, right? So it's like saying that let me think about every possible dimension in which this can go right or wrong, right? So instead of you actually having to get the baby mama, go through CPS, go through all of the fights and arguments, imagine if you just had a vision of all that happened and be like, nope, I'm gonna go with her instead. That's kind of how the quantum computer is. It can think about all possible dimensions at once to arrive to a conclusion much faster.
It's like a Doctor Strange.
Yeah. But that also means that it can figure out ways to crack your password very fast.
Right.
So now, not even just the average person, the CIA, the NSA, governments around the world are not safe, right? Because this has the ability to have more computing power than every single computer on Earth. And it has done problems to where it would have taken the time length of the age of the universe. It solved the problem in like 10 minutes, right? And what the scientists have said that means that we've discovered a multiverse because it couldn't have done it in this universe. It had to go into multiple dimensions in order to solve this problem.
Right.
So when you think about stuff like that, this is not stuff we talk about in the coaching.
No, it's not.
This is why I like bringing these conversations because this is what's going to affect our children, our children's children, right? You got cryptocurrency. They figuring out how do we make crypto quantum safe. Every single government is building a quantum computer right now because if one government gets it and cracks it before the other, then they can control the world.
But these quantum computers are all over the world now.
Well, they're building them all over the world right now.
Right.
I think Google has the best one. Theirs is called Willow, right? But you got to look at the Chinese over there. They're not just building a quantum computer, they're building fusion. The biggest problem right now is energy. All this AI stuff take a lot of energy. Quantum take a lot of energy. I'm talking about nuclear power. So the gold fission out fusion power, it allows you to have infinite energy, right? Where they can just loop it. That means we go into what's called a type 1 civilization where we can harness the power of the sun. We don't do that now. We use oil, right, and dead coal and plants.
Right.
So what they're trying to do is this race, this AI supremacy race. It's this quantum race. All the nations are having the same race right now to figure out who's going to crack it first. China has stabilized their solar fusion, right, I think for like almost a minute, right, which is a big breakthrough. So once they figure out to keep that stable forever, then they can power these machines infinitely. And then that's when they really turn them on. So the AI is just a start.
Right.
Once you connect the quantum computer to the AI, to the blockchain, that's a whole new world with the solar fusion, powered infinitely. You creating things beyond human imagination. So while we be complaining about low-level things, I'll be thinking like, damn, do the rest of the world not see what's happening? Like, this is an existential threat to where we worrying about racism. Racism, you think I care about somebody cursing me out on Twitter and a racist calling me a nigga? That don't even matter.
Right.
You can pull together a computer that can fabricate a whole reality. You know what I'm saying? Right. They got computers that can track the human brain and know what you're going to be thinking 5 minutes into the future. Then what happens when that becomes 5 years into the future? And they map out every possible response that you can have. I look at it like when you go take back all of the conscious community, you can get mad about the debates and say there was a lot of stuff going on, but what they were showing was the super consciousness that we have. These computers ain't built off the brain and neocortex. They built off the mind, the way the mind connected to the ethers in different dimensions. Right. So these brothers sound crazy when they talking about it.
Minus the emotions.
But when you realize it, these are not things that white people made fun of. We made fun of it. They was listening. When Elijah Muhammad said that there's motherships and he was giving a breakdown about astronomy and, Mother Tanetta was giving a breakdown about how the rich is going to try to escape to go to Mars a long time ago. This stuff was sounding crazy to people, but now we live in this reality. And we realize we ignored those who were the prophets of our time that could have steered us in the right direction and we just made fun of them. And then media made more fun of them. And now those people became ostracized as never listen to these niggas. But that's a psyop. So they program they got now called Stargate. They want to put billions of dollars into Stargate to try to make America this super AI, $500 billion. Soon as they announced that, right, that's when Chinese people was like, yeah, our AI better than yours. Then they dropped DeepSeek, threw the whole market off. It was like, man, if we spending billions of dollars to buy these chips and they made one for millions of dollars, then we may be putting our money in the wrong direction. But when you look at where does Stargate come from? The CIA ran a program called Stargate. I believe it was in the 60s. It was a program that was testing superhuman abilities, right? Whether you have clairvoyant, psychic, they would even get these tests to children early on to test if there was children that had gifts, right? To where they can touch objects and get a sense of things. They were trying to figure out how do we tap into the superhuman abilities of people. That's what this movie with Mel Gibson, not Mel Gibson, I forget the dude's name at the time, but it was The Men Who Stare at Goats. So it was a real CIA program to try to figure this out.
Right.
But now they don't want to use humans. They're not using a brain trust. Productivity at an all-time low because people can't focus no more. They want to replace them with robots and machines. So they knew Stargate is how do we get the super potential out of machines? And at that point in time, what use will they have for humans? You're just going to be overpopulated. They're going to treat you just like cow and rodents. The elite don't look at people like real people. They look at you as just numbers, right? And when you look at these movies, they telling you they're conscious. They make movies all the time about what happens when these certain archetypes have control and they just run the world into the ground for the point of just destabilizing and creating anarchy, just to see if I can. Because the most successful devil in the world is the one who destroys the world, just because he can. There's been many people who tried, but they weren't successful, but now they're becoming so overtly powerful that Black people have to see themselves differently. We have to become like super beings during this time. That means physically, mentally, spiritually. We got to be in a whole nother place. But how do you do that if we can't even pay attention? And we fighting over the smallest things on the planet. So it's like, man, I'd be so frustrated thinking sometimes like, how do you get a message to a people who can't even think and pay attention right now?
Well, there's a reason it's important to you. They haven't found the reason of why it's important to them.
And they won't. So you find a common denominator that they care about, right? I might be, my will to find truth is almost like a megalomaniac's will to power, right? I have a will to influence people. If you look at certain psychology, I understand myself very well. It makes me feel good learning information and sharing it with others. That's just how I'm made. So I don't even look at it like it's a superior moral position, because if I had the will to just think about money, then I probably would just focus on that. But that's just not how I'm made. So I focus on what I think I can be the best in the world at. The problem, though, is that it's detrimental to the culture when we have some people that we exalt all the way up here. But if we watch them our whole entire lives, it wouldn't make us better as a people. Right? If we consumed every product they put out, we'd still be in the same position. Then you have other people that we're not paying attention to as much. But if everybody followed this model, we would switch things overnight. When Donald Trump got in, he said first 100 days. They put a timeline on that to shift the whole entire world. Our response should have been, okay, that's what our first 100 days is. So if you got a plan, we go disrupt that. Now you got to respond to our plan, right? Systems only care about other systems, right? Oh man, I don't know the system that they created, but if you say we go boycott, we got them. We already had this planned out. We already knew how they was gonna respond. They're gonna do the boycott thing. They're gonna be divisive about it because some people ain't gonna like it. Al Sharpton gonna jump out there. NAACP go get behind them. Black church go get behind them. The average media radius see this is safe enough, so they go push it. Certain voices, right? They inside their own community go be fighting against each other. They go run parallel campaigns to go at each other, while all at the same time ciphering and using so much energy to try to destroy each other. They're not even focusing on us for real. And so as long as we can wait this out, because they have run the numbers, this ain't gonna really affect the stock, right? This ain't gonna really affect us. We already know what we gonna do. And you can run that in a simple AI and it'll tell you what's gonna happen. So imagine the type of AI they got. Their AI is predicting all of the scenarios. And based on what happens, it's just adjusting in real time. So if we're not, I think my brother Seven Bomar, I think he has his own AI system. I think it's called Sybil.ai, We should be looking at the revolutionaries today are the devs, right? The developers of blockchain applications, or the architects that can help build out new worlds, or the data analysts that actually understand what this large data mean, that we can utilize it for us, or project managers that can help us actually execute and facilitate tasks to get them done, or the philosophers that can teach us how to think during this time to keep us on code. It's not this common idea of revolutionary. It's about who can guide us to build our own world.
Why?
Why what?
Why do all that? Why do all that?
So we can have a safe future.
When you already have hundreds of years of people trying to figure you out and thwart any type of movements that you have going on, why do all that? Why put yourself through the problem? Why become one of those people on the list? Because you're on your way. You're definitely on your way. Why become one of those people? I'm on, yeah, but you know, that's why I won't retire. You know,
this is why my thing is, it ain't about leadership no more. It's just about systems. It ain't about heroes.
Right.
Anybody can die, but the system and the idea continues to perpetuate and live on. And if we make it about the systems, then it don't matter who's here, who's not here. It's just, okay, the only solution is building our own systems. We complain about living in a world owned and controlled by somebody else. We suffer from it. We're depressed. We're sick. We're diseased every single day. Every man in here knows a man that got a mental health issue, an illness, and we don't know how to help them. The money can't do it, right? There's not facilities to help with that. We know that we sick, and we want to see what it's like to actually live a life where we empower. What is it like to, you go outside and you can assume that a black person owns this whole block? Just the assumption, that's a privilege, right? If I'm gonna have a child, I wanna have a child to where when they grow up in the world, they say, man, daddy own this world. You know what I'm saying? Mama own this world, right? They not asking and complaining to say, man, can y'all teach us better? You asking somebody else to teach your child better. That makes no sense. Right. But what it does is, it says as long as they're doing that, we got them. That's the program.
As long as it's not on them, it's not their responsibility.
As long as we're asking them to do something for us, they're winning. But when we stop asking them for anything and we get silent, and that's when they got a problem. You know, our first protest in this country was a silent parade. It was silent. Why? Because they went out there and they had signs. They had signs saying that, man, we got 100,000 acres of land worth $100 million. That was the sign, right? Then they had a list of engineers, brick and mason workers. They had nurses. All the sisters were dressed in a white nurse uniform, like 10,000 of them outside. And it was after a violent issue had happened, I think in East St. Louis. Police killed somebody or something. You know how that go. But instead of them going out there yelling, you know, crying, they said, man, first of all, we got everything to be self-sufficient and govern ourselves. What we telling the government is stay out our way. Right? And that if there's anything for you all to do, a government is supposed to provide opportunity for its people to take advantage of. They put out the list and said, listen, we were the first ones that shed blood for this country. We never tried to assassinate a living president. We lived and died for it. We're essentially building our own, right? Their whole focus was, we gonna save ourselves, right? Give us that sovereignty to do so. But more importantly, I looked at it as a message to each other. Because if we was to have them type of marches today, where it's like everybody who signed up, we got 10,000 engineers, we got 20,000 architects, you feel me? We got 15 banks. How does that feel, right? Walking down the street, that's a message to say, okay, y'all messing with us. We don't need y'all no more. We ain't got to yell at nothing. We ain't got to tear nothing up. The most dangerous one ain't violent. It ain't grabbing a gun. You don't win a war like that no more.
Right.
It's saying, you know what? Y'all good on your own. We don't need y'all. We opt out. And we just go build a parallel world and create our own systems.
How many places can you list where that idea was realized and destroyed?
None. I can look at the last economic network that was built was Elijah Muhammad's economic network. It's the blueprint, right? It's saying that he didn't build one city. He had a network of temples all throughout the U.S. He had facilities all throughout the U.S., schools all throughout the U.S., right? He had import and export. They had their own aviation trust school. They had their own plane. They had their own poultry, right? Cutting down their own beef. You know what I'm saying? They had their own restaurants. all throughout America, it's a long list of an economic network, not one space in time, right? The problem, but then the question becomes, okay, well, what happened to that? His son took over, right? Wharf Dean did not want to continue the economic model. He started dismantling it. Farrakhan did not take over. Farrakhan was at war with them essentially for 3 years and had to go build from ground up. So we say, okay, well, that was the last model that worked. It worked. He created jobs, he created businesses, and he had the best method to take people out of a world and give them a new identity. He got you a new name, got you to clean up, he changed your habits. Because when you can take people off the frequency they own and shift them to another one, it's the best redeeming method. Then everybody agreed to the same laws, the same code, the same ideas. I see another brother again, I can check you because I know what you say you believe, right? So if we look at that, we say, okay, well, how do we do that in today's time? He left an economic blueprint, how much each person can give. Today we can do that in a different way. It don't even have to be based on religion, right? We can do that, take a blockchain, have the same exact system with a DAO. You create digital cities, right? We buy physical assets, right? And we have an economic network. So there's a country that did this very well called Estonia. They started early, turning it into a complete digital country. You can go out there and start a business in like 10 minutes because everything is digital, right? They passports, they birth certificates, they social security. I was talking to a Ukrainian the other day. He showed me how all of his relevant documents are on his phone, right? That he can utilize. And we can do that same exact model. And people tried to hack it, attack it. It was resilient. It worked. It passed through. They got it set up to where you can become a digital citizen of Estonia and start a business out there, and you add into their GDP. You bringing money in for them. So imagine the diaspora has a network, right? Now you a citizen of this network. What does that have to do then? It has to get recognized sovereignty. So it's recognized as a state, so you also have rights. That means you got a flag of some kind that you come under. You have an idea that everybody is under. There's real blueprints and models for these things, you know? So for me, I spend time thinking about these things because these questions do come. Okay, well, how do we do it? Again, we have to change the narrative in our mind. It's not that it's impossible. They just want us to think like that. It's that we stop trying.
Right. One thing that you mentioned just now, that when a country is a part of the plan, it makes sense. What country is a part of this plan?
The one we create. It's a digital state, right? First you started digital. If I'll come and run up into all of you all and you got your digital ID that's a part of this. You feel me? Everybody in here shows me that they're a citizen of it. Your business is connected to the GDP of it, right? A part of that taxes that come from your money, man, you sending 5 cents of every transaction over to this community trust. But then because you spend so much, your voting power is a little different. You got a little leverage in this, right? There's systems and mechanisms that we can put in place. DeFi is decentralized finance. It's how you can do your own custodial banking, right? You own your money, not a bank. Nobody's in between your transactions. If I got money, I send it to you. It's peer-to-peer is what they call that.
Right.
So now we got a peer-to-peer education. We got peer-to-peer lending. If I want to lend you money, there's an automatic smart contract. So now you ain't got to trust me. That's our biggest issue. We don't trust each other.
Right.
But if it's the technology, we ain't got to trust each other. The technology works. So now we just have to utilize the technology, right? And based on our codes, we have to have that encoded as a smart contract that locks up. So if I say, look, we going to do business on this podcast. Now, every time somebody pay us, they're going to take the cryptocurrency, send it into a wallet. Both of us have to link our signatures on there to unlock the money. Once we open it, that money will be automatically sent to both of us. So nobody can do nothing funny.
Okay, so I'm guessing for number 3, economics had something to do with that.
I was going to say family.
Family.
You don't have nothing if you ain't got family. I mean, nothing at all. If you look at the most successful group in America is the Asians. They have the highest education. There's this myth that black women are the most educated in the country, when the reality of it is East Indians and Asians. But the stat set came from the fact that they were the most educated and growing in enrollment in Black America.
The most enrolled.
So it actually became more of a divisive thing, right? That Black women are outperforming Black men, but not the rest of America, because it'll go Asians, whites, then us, right? Then Hispanics. And enrollment don't always mean that you got a degree as well. And then the type of degrees matter. But getting back to that point, you go look at I studied the wealth standard of every culture, and the Asians, they have the one that made the most sense. Number one is family. There's a way the daughter relates to the father. There's a way the son relates to the daughter, a way the mother relates to the son. It's a way they respect each other. There's a code built into how they're all supposed to respect each other. It's not based on each household, whether she talks down about her father. There's a societal code, right? Of how the son treats his father, his sister, his mother, how the father does the same thing. So now there's a structure for that. Each family just don't have their own way. That doesn't make any sense. But then what happens? If you build something, instead of being individual, they have group thinking. Group thinking means that you do something for the benefit of the group, not just yourself, right? So now everything that I do should be for the benefit of my family in some sort of capacity. What I'm learning, right? The moves I'm making in society, how it's going to reflect back. So now when I go make a lot of money, I'm bringing my son with me as an apprentice, and I'm going to pass this down, right? So now that's generational wealth. We just focusing on wealth. Generational wealth is sustainable. The boomers right now, they're the population that's about to pass down the most wealth, right? But you go look at Altino, it's got burnt down to the ground. That was about to be wealth passed down. They had that real estate. They was going to make a bunch of millionaire millennials. Now they can't do that, right? So while we looking at Kamala and giving billions of dollars to her, right? Why are we not looking at Altino and saying, man, let's come together and help bring this community back? That we literally just lost one of the first, right, communities that was built that was about to pass down generational wealth, which is the main thing that we've been talking about. Right. So in a family dynamic, you can do that. In India, the Indian women hold the most gold out of all peoples in the world. Gold just hit a record high. So what does that represent? The net worth of that family, right? So when they say by 2053, blacks will have 0% wealth, they were saying that we will hold zero assets. Assets are becoming so expensive that by the time you get a job and become of age, you can't afford it. And they're constantly raising the prices, which is why I said American dream is dead. So the focus on family gives you a small culture that you come from, right? It gives you a small little bank that y'all building, a net worth of each family that's consistently increasing over time, right? Everybody reinforces a code that they follow. You don't want to bring shame to the family as you move, right? And then you growing up your daughter so that my son can date. I mean, not date, but get married, right? And then if I got wealth and you got wealth, that's more generational wealth, right? Your family represents what? Your family is in media, right? Your family is in textiles. Right now, these two conglomerates just came together, right? If we focused on, okay, instead of 45 million black people trying to get together, what if we want to build 1,000 power families in America? 1,000 powerful black families, and each one of them represent an industry, and they're the ones creating jobs for everybody else. Family is an institution. It's how you pass ideas down, right? I take my mindset and I die and I don't have a child. Yeah, it can be passed in other people's family, but if I seed that literally from my DNA, he's going to get 50% from me. That's me that I'm reproducing in the world. And I teach him how to activate what's in his DNA. I just put myself 50 to 75 years into the future. Then he have a son. That's another 150 years. He have a son. That's 200 years. This is how you control time through family. That's why families in America are the ones who control everything. Hennessy family, HANZ family, Colgate family. These are all families. What they start with simple principles. They set up trust and mechanisms to make sure that all of these principles and ideas and values was passed down. So 100 years in the future, that family is still following that model that was created by their forefathers. Right. So family, we've been focusing on localism where we want to control space. This is my block because I ain't got nothing else, right? It's local politics. You know, everything that happened in the street in the radius, that's localism. Nationalism, that's when we start focusing on nation building. No, this is my nation. It's a nation within a nation, the nation of Islam, the Moor brothers. They say nationalism, right? Then you go globalism. Now we live in a world where we know what's happening in Palestine. It ain't happening in my neighborhood, but I'm concerned about it. I'm not just buying American-made products. Everybody is on goddamn DeepSeek or they got a Samsung. That's not America. That's globalization.
Right.
The last piece is what we missing. It's cosmism, right? To where we back connected to the cosmos, right? We connected back to astronomy, not just astrology. Because every single culture, a civilization that was built, that's melanated, that was great, had cosmism, right? They understood the cycles of the universe and what times that we was living in. We live in what we call solar cycle 25. So every 11 years, the sun goes through a cycle to where it bursts out different electromagnetic energy, right? So we are in what they call a maxima. So we're in the phase to where we're going to get more radiation than any other time, right? So that has disruption of technology. It has a certain effect on skin conductance. So it's going to be different between people with melanin and not melanin. It's going to have an effect on heartbeat rates, can increase anxiety. So what happens when we have more energy? We end up getting in more trouble unless we have somewhere to push that energy towards, right? So that means we're going to see more conflict. One of the biggest geomagnetic storms that happened in the history was on the exact same day in 1921 as Black Wall Street, the moment that it fell. The bombings happened that exact same day. When I think about that principle, I say we have to find a way to where we're planning and we're living above this world. They control this little local shit. They don't control the universe. You know what I'm saying? I can look at this and understand we're in the year of the nine. It's a time of conflict. It's the end of things, new things coming. They study that. We take it for granted. They plan with astronomy and synchronistic dates, right? They know certain dates throughout time because they understand that this is actually programmed in our DNA to be a cycle, right? As men age, we have cycles. Your testosterone decreases. There's things you have to do. Women have 30-day cycles, right? They're already connected to the moon. We living on their calendar, keeping us off rhythm and off cycle, which is why we're not operating at God body level. If a woman has to go to work while she got a period, how she go perform? Right? You think she gonna be her best? Hell no, because she's fighting off that rhythm. Right. So man created his world. The white patriarchal intellect is what I call it. Created his world to keep everybody off their cycle. You know what I'm saying? So now we're not in tune with the sun. Now we over here in America, we got solar deficiency and we wonder why we depressed. You ain't had no sun in a long time. Right. You feel me? He ain't had a tan. He looking Drakish over here. You feel me? So for me, is how do we get back into the cycles of time till we start living in our natural time? Ethiopia got a 13-moon calendar. They created, Julius Caesar created this calendar, the Gregorian calendar, and the Pope is the one who instituted. And then all nations started following. And that literally meant that we was on their time. And it's a world that they control. Right. Radical just mean to get to the root. So when they say somebody radical, he getting to the root of it. He trying to create actual cures and solve things. It's not a bad thing at all. So if we don't do the most radical thing in our mind, and more so it's just about having that self-love to say, I love myself so much, I don't want another man to rule me. I love myself so much, I actually just want to be in tune with self. I love myself so much, I'm going to eat right. I love myself so much, I'm going to work out. I love myself so much, I ain't going to be with this toxic ass person. You feel me? They not good for me. I love myself so much that I'm going to treat the person that I'm with right so they treat me right, right? I think it literally goes back to self-love is the basis of all love, right? And if you get that in the family, and this is the last part I land on, there's things that human beings seek by nature. We seek significance, community, contribution, growth. Depending on how that's arranged, right, will tell you whether you're good for your community or not. So when you grew up in a household and you were greatly ignored, right, you may seek significance or love a lot, right? So now everything you do is based on significance, right? So now your moves may not be based on how you contribute to the community. If you grew up with that love, you're not tripping about significance. I already feel like somebody. I feel fulfilled. Ain't no voids to fill. Right. So now you like, you know what? I do all this stuff for love. You feel me? Like I'd rather do the things that get me the most love to make me feel the best about myself. Or it might be somebody do it for contribution. I just love contributing. I love just being a part of something, right? Now, depending on how your psychology is set up, if you got somebody that's working for you and they're doing it for significance, it creates competition because they need to be better than the person they next to.
Right.
So now it's harder for y'all to get along. If they doing it for contribution, I'm developing my skills so I can contribute to the community so I can get love. You feel me? So when you have the right family model, you're not sending out broken people into the world, fucking up their communities. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get significance, and your ego becomes more important than your impact.
I was trying to tell them last week. They didn't want to listen.
Man, y'all done got the whole save yourself tour, goddammit.
Yeah, it's going down. Get your tickets.
Tickets already sold out. Get them to the next event for sure. Yes, sir, you right.
Well, yeah.
19keys.com/tour.
One thing I want to close out with. What are 3 things that you swear by? 3 habits that you do daily that fuel your motivation and focus.
It's funny because I just got back to these good habits. First one now is meditation. First moment of the day. And in that meditation, I started thinking about what serves my higher self for the day, right? And what am I grateful for? So what you start doing, you start shifting your brain to even think about those things, you start aligning. The second one is movement. When you sleep, your brain is activating your glymphatic system. So it's washing over the ridges to clean out the neurotoxins throughout the day. But where did that toxic stuff go? So you have to move to get that from just being up here, because it's been sitting up here this whole entire time. And I believe it goes to probably about right down here. So I'm jumping and I'm moving around. Then the other one is, as I'm looking in the mirror, brushing my teeth with the opposite hand, speaking affirmations. You know what I'm saying? I want to get my brain aligned right before I go into the world. When I do that, I had the best days ever. You know what I'm saying? Each and every time, because now I'm not operating mundane. My brain is thinking. It's forming new neural connections by forcing it to think. So I'm brushing my teeth with the left hand. So now I'm not just operating on this algorithm of just doing the same thing reactively every day.
Right.
So now I done broke that. So now that I'm thinking, my brain also wants to continue to have that sort of order. Right? So now, okay, now that we're in this calm place and you got control of yourself, what's important for you? Well, you already told you what will serve your higher self, right? Let's write everything down. You know what I'm saying? Let's write it down. When I do that, I promise you my day is good. It's not possible to have a bad day if you set up with that neurological shift within your day. But if you allow it to be chaos, anything can happen.
So be careful who you wake up next to.
Even more important, use a condom.
19 Keys. Always a pleasure, brother. Always a pleasure.
My brother, thank you for having me.
It's Hoffa, trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rapper.